What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? We're back. We're back at home, I guess. And also back on the stream again. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. If you're new to the channel after watching the dash cam streams, good to have you. I do miss being out there every day and being live for you. But as I've been telling you guys for weeks, we've been in a sunsetting period of time. Just telling you guys based on the situation out there. It went from, escalating so significantly to, now it's the ice is still out there and they still pop up. There's still response to them being out there, but the level of violence towards observers and anybody that's just been out in the streets has died down significantly, especially after Border Patrol and Greg Bavino left. So, and I told you guys as soon as that happened that it would probably enter a newer phase because their entire deal and Greg Bavino's entire deal was to incite chaos as they would drive through various gas stations. And this has been going on since last year when we were in Chicago. And then Status Quo is reporting from all over the place following Greg Bavino around. So we already were privy to him and what his whole deal was. And then the day that Bavino came was the same day that Renee Good was murdered. The same exact, this on the crime scene. I was filming the police seal it off and the feds and the Minneapolis police. And then all of a sudden there's Greg Bavino rolling right down the street. So it was chaos. So I said it wasn't over a couple weeks ago, but I told you it was a sunsetting period and it's still not over. All right. It's not like we'll pull up the video. And I was there today. You guys can go watch the whole press conference again if you would like to. We got into the building and got set up and we requested to get media access and they approved it, so I appreciate that. It was kind of weird like being on the opposite, like we were in the building now, whereas like we've been on the outside getting gassed and flashbanged for weeks, and then now it's like we were like in the building. It was crazy. Like it was wild. But like, we were in there. I mean, we were all with the rest of the media, and I was at the press conference. And so like obviously when he first said, Operation Metro Surge is ending, I was like, oh because like that's what we were expecting. That's why I requested media access and to even be there was because I had assumed that this was what the announcement was going to be. And I told you guys often the times the political ramifications of what's going on, if you're not paying attention to the politics of it, which I know a lot of you guys might or you might not, which is fine. Politics are for rich people and for dorks like a lot of us, but like really it's really just for rich people because they play games and it's just dumb, right? But like the politics of this have been so bad. It's been terrible. I'm muted. You guys can hear me, right? I'm not playing it right now. You guys can, I'm not muted on the stream, right? You can't stomach it again. No, we're not playing the whole thing. I just want to get to the part where he says the operation is coming to an end. We could barely hear him in the room. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, cool. We could barely hear him in the room. He was so quiet. Like I had to crank up my microphone. And he, like, even in the room though, you could barely hear Tom Homan speak. It was wild. I mean, I don't have a connection to that microphone that was on there because I got to be corporate media to have that one. I got everything else though. I've almost caught up, but I didn't have connection to his actual microphone on the podium. But even in the room though, you could barely hear him. I don't know what the hell we had to listen in. But it ended up saying that again, Operation Metro Surge was coming to an end. He blamed Minnesota for responding to a federal occupation, and said called observers agitators, just a whole bunch of just political garbage, trying to politicize it. But then he got to the point where I ended up talking to President Trump, and Operation Metro Surge come to an end.
Laws. If we encounter you, we'll take appropriate enforcement action.
I can't remember. I think we posted a clip of it. Let me get to my Facebook because I don't want to have to seek through that. I should have done it before the stream. My bad. I'll get back in. I'll get back into streamer preparedness soon. It's such an adjustment going from what we were doing to what this is now. But I welcome you all. And also, really quick, well, before I pull this clip up, Nikki posted it for sure. This is the regular stream, Monday through Saturday, actually. Unless like I really just need a break, and then I'll just, whatever. But Monday through Saturday. Sunday we'll see. If there's nothing else going on, I'll probably be just on my gaming channel, or I take that as a day off just to because I could stream every day. We have been. It's fine. I don't consider what I do like this right now is not work. You know what I mean? It's like I'm hanging out on my computer with you guys. But when we're doing stuff like we've been in the streets and the dash cam, and then getting tear gassed, flashbanged, and marching all over for miles, like yeah, that's probably some work. We put in some work, but when I'm at home here, I don't consider this work. This is just not tough to do. So I can probably do that. I mean, I don't want to burn myself out though, so that's why I don't do it, because I also go IRL with it. You know what I mean? So I know some streamers, every single day, and that's fine. But with this channel and this on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, we go IRL, and that takes a lot of energy. Like I'm really burnt out, actually. I am burnt out. I'm not burnt out to do this. Like I told you, this is not tough. I'm burnt out in driving around, and I got to get new tires and everything. Like I put so many miles on my vehicle. It is what it is, though. That's just what it required. But I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm tired of being cold. The weather's getting better, but it was such a long period of time there. So we have the reel up. Oh, why is it like that? Oh, I guess it's fine. I mean, a little Homan. It's like Greg Bovino. Why can't I hear this? I have it muted. Okay, here's just the clip of when he said that Operation Metro Surge is ending.
With that, in success that has been made arresting public safety threats and other priorities since this surge operation began, as well as the unprecedented levels of coordination we have obtained from state officials and local law enforcement, I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude.
And that's the surge part, right? Doesn't mean ICE is like completely leaving Minnesota. Yeah, that's not going to happen. There will still be like what it was before the surge, before December 4th. There was probably, I think, like 30 to 50 of them, maybe. Like there's ICE. Like they'll still be around. It just won't be the thousands of agents all over the place. And he's just like, there was a point where you were just driving in the cities and you were seeing them. It wasn't hard. We just drive around. The dash cam stream would be running and be like, oh, there's an ICE car. Oh, there's another one. Oh, and then they were all over the place. So it's likely going to go back to how it was before. And also it won't be fast. This will be like another couple weeks. So there'll still be hundreds of them out there. And then next week, maybe, 100 or so. And then the following week, maybe back. And then, but also, who knows if what he's saying is even true. So people will still be observing. That'll still happen. Monitoring of the situation, I guess, right? That's going to continue to see. And then like only then will we know if like this is true. Because he can say it, but then this administration lies. So only through what it's like in the streets, if that changes and like we don't see ICE anymore. Because you can still see, they're still in like north side Minneapolis. They're all over the north suburbs. I mean, they're ISIS everywhere still, actually. But the level of like door to door raids and just they were riding around in a convoy. They still do sometimes. Like it was crazy work what was going on here. That is likely going to change, and it's going to go back to warrant, or what they say is a warrant related targeted arrests, which is like, oh, let's just go back to how we were doing it before, and then we'll call it win after they've killed two. And we still need justice for Renee Good and Alex Pretty. That still needs to happen. Like they can't get away with this. They can't get away with what happened here at all. And so, yeah, that needs to be the move. All right. Or any candidate running for office needs to have that as like priority. because the killers are still like free, so that can't happen, obviously. So yeah, I mean, while this, I guess the surge part and the thousands of them, we have to find out, right, is likely going to end, because also the reason why I'm optimistic about why he's like not lying is the politics of everything right now is so bad. And I've been telling you guys, I just did a 3-hour safety meeting stream about that specifically, because I get it. Like when you're out there and if you're not paying attention to the right left politics, because that sucks. I get it. It sucks. It sucks so much ass. But the politics around MAGA and Donald Trump right now are like absolutely the worst it's ever been. Worse than that, actually. Because also, while this has been going on, while everyone, like the world's been watching these raids, the world is also waited for the Epstein files to come out, and it's bad. It's so bad. It's really, 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 really bad. And I haven't even really been able to cover those because just one person and I can only cover one world news story at a time. I'm sorry. We're working on it. But like, we know the world news came here. It's obviously what the Trump administration with the masked federal agents is all part of Project 2025. It's all part of what this administration wants to do or tried to do here. And like they've been just, Minnesota was like their opus of everything that they've been conducting from Chicago, which the Chicago was very similar to Minneapolis, but Minneapolis was at scale bigger, obviously, and then they murdered 2 people. And then, they went to Louisiana, they went to Charlotte in South Carolina, they were in LA. I'm talking about like the band of like the surges, because ICE is everywhere still. ICE is still all over the United States. Like that's the people, and you can name a state probably in chat. You have ICE in your state, and you've seen them there, or you know about them. But these surges where they're bringing thousands to just do like mass deportation through fucking at basically what we've been experiencing here in Minneapolis. That is politically so bad for them. Like they got the politics of that got destroyed here. There's like no win. Like ICE is like even like for normies, for people that aren't involved in politics and the current events, or maybe they just watch memes, they're against ICE. And when that happens, you're fucked. When like the actual popular opinion is to be against ICE, which it is, they can't. This administration runs on that. This administration runs on vibes. They run on populism. And when the country is just so politically against ICE right now, and it's like, I mean, you're cooked. And then also again the Epstein files and what's coming out in those documents, and the Trump, which for me it's like I feel like it's just, I don't know what else needs to be said and done about him. He's not a good person. I feel like I've been ranting about it for 6 years now. I've definitely, yeah, and I know, and I could be annoying about it, but that's why. Because yes, like when I was covering Russia's invasion of Ukraine, I'm like, the guy wanted to build it in the Kremlin. He's been connected to Russia since like the 80s at least, and then he's obviously influenced by Israel, and then he's got the documents and the reporting about Donald Trump's connection to Epstein have been around for ever now. It's whether or not people wanted to see it. And now you're reading some terrible things, and it's like, do you believe it now? How about now? But like a lot of people have been aware of how bad this is for a very long time now. And it's like, how much more do we need to find out, sire? Do we need to find out harder? Oh, okay, they voted for him again? Fuck me. All right, I guess we got to find out more now. It's terrible. It truly is. But like, man, it's ranting about how much the president is he's a 34-time convicted felon, very connected to the worst of the worst when it comes to deeply connected pedophiles, PDF files. I don't know, I'm probably demonetized now, whatever, I don't care. But this reporting has been in existence for so long, and I wish people now, if this is like the time where you like Trump bad, like yes, he has been. He has been, and then everything about this administration too. Like that's how confident the Republican Party was in Donald Trump and like not caring about double speaking because they did. They both denied their policies, which is the Project 2025, but also were like posting them on the internet and being like, "Fuck it, like our people don't believe anything we say," and then the people that are against us, they have no power. So we're just gonna post exactly what we're gonna do on this website, which is through the Heritage Foundation. Donald Trump is our puppet man. He's just gonna go out there and just say, "I don't know nothing about it." And then the right wing ate it up, and we're like, yeah, he doesn't know shit about that. And then everything we're going through right now, in terms of like the federal raids and the last year it was the just destruction of our soft power with our NGOs and funding there, and that's all part of Project 2025. So that'll happen like immediately. And then these federal raids with the federal deportations, the mass deportations are also part of that. So, and that's all internal plans. And so like it's just going to keep going, but they're external plans now, but like the politics around it are so bad. So that's why, that's where I got a little bit of hopium around it. Not too much though, because there's no guarantee that we even get a midterm election. There's no guarantee we even have a 2028 election with Donald Trump in this. I mean, he's doing 2028 merch already. He's got 2028 merch going already. Like, what do we even like? I'm just, I'm cautiously optimistic, only because the politics around everything is so bad. But again, a lot of people don't have time to understand that, which is fine. And you're feeling the real ramifications of what's going on in the streets, and you don't have time to think about the politics of it, and that's fine. And you might not even care, and that's fine too. But I'm just letting you know that it's so bad for MAGA right now that the political capital that you need to carry out something like this again is just destroyed. So that's why I'm like Tom Homan's announcement. They didn't want it. They didn't want to keep this. I'm sure they, if everything politically and optically was sound, they would have tried to keep this going because we have a governor election this year. The midterms are this year. They probably would have tried to keep it going, but it's been so politically damning. And even Homan mentioned today in the press conference that I think he was calling up Bovino directly about how wild they were, because they wouldn't. I mean, this guy's a criminal too. I think taking a $50,000 bribe. Like, I'm not saying he's not, but like Bovino was out there with the trench coat. I have it on my Instagram. A moment in American history. Out there in the green, the olive Hugo Boss. Like, we were seeing the craziest things. Oh, am I not in there? Let me get in my account. If not, I can just hold on. Follow. You guys can follow Mercado Me on Instagram too. We're at there's 40,000 people that follow us there now. But photos and stills on Instagram, it's still the best place for it. It actually is still. It fell off for a while, but I'd say it's back now. Like, Instagram's probably back now. But for sure, fell the fuck off. Where is it? Yeah, this was so crazy. Let me see. I have photos, right? Yeah. How come it doesn't? That looks so dumb. Instagram on the computer is terrible. Never mind. It's terrible on the computer. Why can't I do the okay? Whatever. Good enough. I mean, it doesn't change. But he was out there in the full trench coat. Oh my god! Like, he needed to be on camera and every situation, and then also personally throwing grenades at people. I don't know. Oops, and I just like that by myself. Oops. And then there's more of Bovino out there. This is so crazy. Doing nothing but taking for photos. This was for nothing else. They're just to try to puff their chest out at the protest out there with the whistles and their signs and their hand warmers. And like my my recruiter was out there that day, so he got to see this. There were so many people out there that day, I remember, like that aren't political at all. And they were like, I just want to go. And like, this was the day he chose to come out looking like that. And like, there was, and because I know, because people were coming up to me. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, people I had never even thought would be at a protest. Because obviously now I've been covering them for like 6 years now. But like, I was like shook at some of the people I was seeing in the protest crowd. And then they get fucking gassed and flashbanged because of this loser was wanted to come out and be in his little Nazi trench coat. And because there's no other reason to do that, or like at all. Like, to even have, like, what the fuck was this? This is so crazy. It's fine. I'm gonna upload these onto YouTube as well. All right, I'll just have like a date flash on the screen to start, because there's a lot of clips and video I haven't uploaded to the YouTube channel from what's gone on out here. YouTube's been neglected that way, but we've been posting all over social media, I guess. So we'll get that. I'll get some of those up on YouTube. So yeah, Bovino did that. That was crazy. What crazy work. Look at this shit was so wild. Eastern campaign. Yeah, he said, how do you eliminate capital? How do we eliminate fascism without also eliminating the billionaires? You need to get more people involved, and it's slow. This is the first time I've actually seen this reach people that it wouldn't usually, right? If it starts becoming echo chamber stuff and like hyper stuff that people aren't aware of yet, then you're gonna lose a lot of people. But you need like a lot of just regular people to be involved. So, I mean, just finding ways to explain that. But right now, a lot of people are just protesting for the first time.
Let's go get some. You're a Nazi little fuck. I didn't know you were such a midget. You tiny little piece of shit. Piece of shit. You love this too with your thumb, and you peaked in high school.
Get out of the road. Get out of the road. Like, so whatever. So obviously, like, there's probably some internal conflict between underboss Homan and enforcer Bovino and Christine Nome that's just there, I guess, to do dress up for the incels in the right wing, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. So he I don't know if we have it clipped or not, but he specifically mentioned that. And it was like, we're doing things differently. You know, things got out of hand, whatever. I'm not going to make you listen to it again. A lot of people are like, I don't want to listen to that again. But yeah, he was like, in there, he said specifically, and I'll prepare better for the next stream. I'll have these clipped, but, you know, I'm just getting back into it. He specifically mentioned that. So probably some infighting there. Obviously, Bovino, suit tie, you know, under the table, 50,000 bribe type work. You know what I mean? Not really the type to go out and tear gas kids on broad daylight. You know, it's very tough. Like secret bribes or flashbanging children on like a Tuesday at 10 a.m. That's like that's the two yin and yang of the fascism we got going on, right? So it turned out Bovino was doing too much, wearing the Nazi shit and obviously playing into it and doing things like that. And then this guy's like the slick little behind the scenes guy. Okay, I already posted the GIF. It was like in what is it? Goodfellas, yeah. It's like, I'm not gonna play the part where it gets to it, but it's like in Goodfellas where they pull up. This is Bovino, or is it? No, I can't play the whole thing because it's probably gonna get me demonetized.
Honor they can give you. It means you belong to a family and a crew. It means that nobody can fuck around with you. It also means you could fuck around with anybody just as long as they aren't also a member. It's like a license to steal. It's a license to do anything.
All right, thanks, man. Hey, how many years ago was the U.S. made?
I'm an old man. 30 years ago.
30 years, huh?
30 years.
Memories.
And how?
Mike's Pete
Tommy's Bavino here.
the fucking pimple then, wasn't it?
And there's Homan behind him.
Just
Or is it? Yeah, it's, hold on. I don't want to play too much of this. There you go. He's going to become a made man, or they told him he was going to become a made man. Robert De Niro and they can't be made men because they're Irish. Oh, that's Bavino. Oh, and then he gets. I can't play the next part, but he gets whacked. That's the last thing he sees. I can't play the next part, but you get it. Yeah, that's basically what happened. So Bavino came in, or Homan came in. Bavino got sent back to El Centro, and even Tim Pool with his beanie. Trump is losing this. Oh wow, even Tim Pool can see it because it's been bad. They're just untrained, just reckless. I've been telling you guys that for the beginning. Body camera footage released of Border Patrol agent shooting woman 5 times in Chicago. Jesus, I can't play that on stream. When was that? The government claims she ran Border Patrol agent. So, meanwhile, in the Chicago operation still. And then just yesterday, we had in St. Paul. In St. Paul, we had ICE agents ram an individual. I'm still waiting for like a update on that. Tim Wall's giving an update too. We got to listen to. There was a multi-vehicle crash yesterday in St. Paul near Nina's Cafe at Western and Selby. The incident was a large emergency response, first reported around 10:30 a.m. St. Paul police and federal agents are present at the scene. This is photos from Holden, who's one of our photojournalists. Great work. He was also there today at the press conference. But yeah, and so ICE agents sent someone to the hospital, caused a multi-car crash because they're nuts. They're literally, it's like Grand Theft Auto police. That's the best way I can explain ICE, is like GTA cops. And if you play GTA, you know that's not really a good thing. It's not a good thing at all. So they'll just do whatever the hell they want. And they've been doing that from day one. And they've killed people, they've gotten people significantly hurt. They've tried to hurt people. They have like no regard for anything. It's like it's their space, and whatever happens, it's your fault. So that was terrible. All right, let's get the Tim Walz update because I think that just happened before I went live. If you guys could take a moment and like the video. I don't care about Trump. Wow, EPA repeal scientific funding. Wow. You guys are so sick. Okay, so this just happened.
Using the momentum.
Let's get the Tim Walz response. It's just a lot to get from the federal building to where Tim, and we gotta get in the press corps of this so we can be there. And it's like no problem. I'm sure it'd be no problem, but I already covered one press conference today. But here was the Tim Walz response to the Tom Homan's announcement of Operation Metro Surge ending.
Thanks for being here. Morning.
How are you? Good to see you, my friend. I gotta come down and eat.
Yes, right. It's about time.
Make sure that she knows.
Yes.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to start today expressing a deep sense of gratitude and a deep.
Okay.
My fellow Minnesotans.
That was
over the past 6 weeks, the state.
See, even AP has problems too.
Of Minnesota and the people of this great state have endured an unprecedented federal invasion in all aspects of life. Our sense of normalcy was shook to the core. The trauma that's been inflicted, certainly across an immigrant community, but to every single Minnesotan, is unlike anything we've witnessed. We've been through challenges. We've been through natural disasters. We've been through COVID. But this is something that I don't think any state has ever experienced. And through that entire time, the dignity, the compassion, the love, the care, and the absolute determination to do what was right never wavered amongst Minnesotans, whether it was standing in minus 40 degrees temperatures or it was delivering food to a family that simply wanted to feed their children. Minnesotans never wavered.
But did you though? That's the question. Like what was done to cause this to end? But again, it could just be because it's so politically bad that even like they couldn't make a deal. And like I don't know. But there was like they wanted voter rolls, they wanted to have basically make the cities not be sanctuary cities. Like basically that's what the federal government was demanding. So I don't know what if any we gave up. But the reason why I'm like not full send on he absolutely made a deal for this to happen is because of how politically bad this was. And it's bad. And MAGA runs off that. They run off of vibes, they run off of populism. So, and then with also with the Epstein files, it's just really, really, really bad for them. And Trump, it's bad, super bad. Like to the point where we're probably gonna launch a war soon for Israel or something very quickly in short order to try to distract from all of this because it's been so bad. But again, I'm not total. Like I would really like if I was there, I would have asked if we'll see if they ask these questions. But that's what I would have asked Tim Walz. Like, was there a deal made, or did Tom Homan basically come here to just like all that shit we did, our bad, and like left now? You know what I mean? Because again, just politically bad, terrible. I guess we'll see. We'll see if they ask questions at the end.
And for that, I will be forever grateful. I think it's probably safe to say the rest of the country will be forever grateful because they showed what it means to stand up for what's right, to stand up for the true principles of this country, to stand with the Constitution, and to stand with human decency. And so I want to note that the announcement today by Mr. Homan, we are cautiously optimistic, as we've said, and that this surge of untrained, aggressive federal agents are going to leave Minnesota. And I guess they'll go wherever they're going to go. But the fact of the matter is, they left us with deep damage, generational trauma. They left us with economic ruin in some.
Yep, this is true. I mean, Walz is cooking right here, actually. I really wish like Tim Walz would have been out there more. That's the one L, obviously. Now, and I was criticizing him in the moment when in the middle of all this weeks ago, December, I was adding Tim Walz on social media. Like, why aren't you out there? So it's not like I'm saying it now. No, I was saying it in the moment too. Cause I'm like, yo, you like be out there at least. He showed up a couple times, but not enough. Then he need, especially since he's not running again. Who gives just fucking go out there, offer resources to the people that were out there with mutual aid. Maybe he was. I don't know, but I didn't see it. If it was happening, maybe some people that are connected, activist wise, they got support from the state. Probably not though. Probably not. I'm gonna bet no. But that would have been some shit he could have done. But right now, in this moment right here, this is very important to say because the next governor is going to have to, which looks like probably going to be Amy Klobuchar. Oh, can Peggy Flanagan run? Please, whatever. But all of everything that happened over the past 2 months, like people are like nothing's going to change for a lot of people for a while. Like it's going to be very rough mentally to return back to normal. There, especially immigrant communities that are just like people haven't left their homes, or it's just been terrible, obviously. And that'll take time to return to any type of a normal, if any, because we still got 3 more years of this administration. You still got midterms. You still got a governor's race. You think you think these right-wing like Nazis are done? The federal government might take their hands off a little bit, maybe because it was so politically bad, but the right-wing fucking chud machine isn't going anywhere. They're going to come back when the governor race is going on, especially if their nominee is the pillow guy. They're going to be doing trying to. We'll see. Because they're going to want to turn Minnesota red. And it's like, That's like their mission now, even though they're like going to lose everything to try to do it, which they've clearly have no problem doing. They being the Republicans, they clearly have no problem because Minnesota's a blue state. But like, if anything, now I'm sure a lot of conservatives in the state are like, actually, this is fine. Like, MAGA is insane, actually. And yeah, my state might be blue, but like, at least, I don't have to deal with this shit, which the shit being MAGA bringing their fascism to Minnesota. Because like, we're in the middle of the country. We dealt with we had the riots and then the protests of the Black Lives Matter movement, but that really wasn't politically connected to anything. If you really want to use your brain, Democrats would come and like you take advantage of the protests that were happening, but the movement was not politically aligned to anything. Not a soul, except for, again, when Democrats would come there and then do photos and then whatever, and then turn that movement into their campaign, which is what happens. What's happening right now is a direct result of the Trump administration and its policies. And so like Republicans are feeling it. And like, obviously they're out there getting gassed as well, or to your flashbang for standing there. And it's really had an impact. Or they see Jake Lang and the incel gang and the Temu Punishers coming through, showing up at I'm just being honest, like showing up at my door. It didn't matter if it was anyone's door, but they showed up at fucking my door. Or, Georgia Fort, multiple Emmy award-winning journalists getting arrested. or well-known activists that have big social media followings, you guys know, have been arrested or detained out here. Or journalists like King Demetrius, who is in a cast still. When he had his foot, he was hit with munitions one day. I don't know which. There was so many days, but one of the days he got hit with munitions in his foot, and he's in a cast now. So, I mean, everyone's been fucked with. On different levels. Okay, it's been crazy work. It's been nuts out here. But like in the moment though, I wish Tim Walz would have done more, especially since he's not running again. But this is important to say right now in this press conference for sure.
We are cautiously optimistic, as we've said, and that this surge of untrained, aggressive federal agents are going to leave Minnesota. And I guess they'll go wherever they're going to go. But the fact of the matter is, they left us with deep damage, generational trauma. They left us with economic ruin in some cases. They left us with many unanswered questions. Where are our children? Where and what is the process of the investigations into those that were responsible for the deaths of Renee and Alex?
Yeah, there you go.
So while the federal government may move on to whatever next thing they want to do, the state of Minnesota and our administration is unwaveringly focused on the recovery of what they did.
Which is good. I'm glad he's not like trying to say it's time to return. Like a lot of times some Democrats would take this time to be like, let's come together now and both sides and blah, blah, blah and whatever. And it sucks. So it's good that he's like, they're going to move on, but we're going to continue to focus on absolute, like the destruction that they just had. And then hopefully if Democrats take midterms coming up again, hopefully, because I don't know if we even have them. In theory, we're supposed to. That could give some, so we could have some congressional investigations at least, or something, to hold the killers accountable, to get some accountability there. So that's why he can't stop. If he's serious, I guess we got to see if he's true, or if what he's saying is true. But he can't stop put in the spotlight as to everything that happened in Minnesota and get justice or funding and money for the communities that have been destroyed.
And there will be many steps in this process, many answers that we still need to get and will pursue. But as we started earlier this week, one of the first things we can do and what we're focusing on today is what can we start doing on the economic recovery, the damage that has been done to our economy, specifically to small business owners, and even more specifically to immigrant small business owners, which for every other administration and for most of our history, is the epitome of the American dream.
Yeah.
Come to this country with nothing and build something to be proud of, build something that creates jobs, build something that creates this incredible diversity and a food scene across this state that is second to none, to
Which, by the way, is everyone that's came here is press has said that. Everyone that I know, just speaking from the little press corps that independent journalists that have came and left, yes, that's the first thing they say is, wow, there's so many diverse food options here in Minnesota, which again, we're in the middle of the country, but like flyover state kind of, maybe consider, I don't know. Not obviously I'm biased because I live here, so it's not a flyover state for me, but I don't know. But we have just so many diverse things that are so good, and including food. We just tons of restaurants of so many different options, truly.
Entrepreneurship, to the work that they've done. Meeting a few weeks ago down at the Hmong Market, and a gentleman who came here and got a food stall, and 3 of his children are now medical doctors that went through American universities to become medical doctors to help make this state the best for health care.
The United States is not part of the International Criminal Court. I gotta keep reminding that. It's this, the US and Russia are not a part of it, because that's why Russia couldn't be held accountable. That's when I learned that, because I'm like, yo, is the international courts gonna hold Russia accountable for their invasion of Ukraine? Nope. They didn't. They held hearings for Ukraine, and then they condemned it at the UN, but nothing happens because Russia's not in it, and the US is not in the ICC either. So there will be no, like, if you're expecting like an international court system to assist in this, it's not going to happen. It won't. Unless the US passes laws to get us into that would have to be what happened. I don't know how that would work, but we're not a part of it. I see the Democrats that don't want the enforcement of certain laws. If they don't show any signs of changing the laws, yeah, that's what's important to vote more progressive if you're a Democrat, right? You don't want to, if you just want the status quo and just mid, you're going to get that. You're going to probably have to vote more progressive and more progressive thinking Democrats to make change. Just how it has to work.
Those are stories we should be celebrating, not dangerous police chases through peaceful neighborhoods.
Literally. Like, I think you might be talking about Ed there. I think you might have brought it because Ed was chased through I don't want to say his full name in case I don't know. But, he was chased through his entire city, like in GTA, and then he had to go, actually, he drove to his own police station. And then because the feds were like chasing him in the streets, and they don't have any authority to do that. What the hell is that?
Not little boys in little backpacks.
Thank you, Anna, for becoming a contributor.
And not more.
Liam. He's talking about Liam there.
Celebrating. Not dangerous police chases through peaceful neighborhoods. Not little boys in little backpacks being hauled away. And not mourning of parents and family for American and Minnesota citizens being killed on the streets. So, Minnesota, on behalf of not just this state but the country, thank you. That same energy now needs to be directed towards recovery, to finding ways that people have done during these challenging months to go forward. So I want.
Okay, so you mentioned the demand to get justice for the killers. So it's a little bit of that both, but what does the recovery look like?
I want to say,
it looks like everything he mentioned. We need economic recovery, all that. But how do you get that out of this administration? That's the catch. It sounds good, but then how do you get that? They ain't going to give that money.
This damage is still being assessed, but we do know, and you're going to hear from some folks. You're going to hear from Henry. You'll hear from Commissioner Verlick about where we're at on the front end of this, and we're going to be proposing a reinstitution of our small business emergency fund. It's what we used very successfully during COVID in the recovery and the economic recovery that we saw in Minnesota that outpaced most of the rest of the country. We're going to be proposing a first-time $10 million one-time targeted loans, forgivable loans that we know, and I want to be very clear, is a very small piece of this, but what I am going to challenge as we get ready to start here in a few days, the legislative session. This legislative session needs to be about recovery of the damage that's been done to us. I am also asking our team, and I'm going to make appeals to our federal delegation. The federal government needs to pay for what they broke here.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm like, how, what, like, yeah, they do. Definitely. How right now? Unless the midterms flip it and Trump is impeached, and then you got JD Vance, and I don't know, man. I don't think it's just tough, right? Because this federal government is not gonna then now pay for the Trump doesn't even pay for his own venues he books. He's not going to be paying all these federal agents their bonuses that they're signing up for. You think that they're gonna pay the Twin Cities or the state of Minnesota money for recovery after what they did? I don't know. I don't think so. I certainly don't. I'm not confident there.
There are going to be accountability on the things that happen, but one of the things is the incredible and immense costs that were borne by the people of this state. The federal government needs to be responsible. You don't get to break things and then just leave without doing something about it. So we're going to...
True. Definitely true. All true. But like, how do we take action on that though? That's my thing. Like, definitely so true. But how does that become actionable?
To be asking the federal delegation to be investing and doing the things necessary. We have been in contact with federal leadership as a negotiation is happening right now on DHS funding and all of the things that we have an expectation, whether it be the investigations, whether it be going forward, no masks, because this, I got to tell you, one of the things, and I'm in contact with a lot of my colleagues, both at the
issue a moratorium,
the Senate and the House, but especially governors. I don't want these folks showing up somewhere else and doing this. So the changes that need to be made, the investments that need to come back, they need to show, they being the federal government.
You need to return more power back to the state, and like any partnerships with the federal government need to be like. They have too much because they came here and just cucked up. Our government was so cucked. They're gonna do anything. They ended up obviously in the end just being out there with the feds and engaging in the crowd control and really soured a lot of people's opinion on the police that might not have been that way beforehand. A lot of people are aware of that, but not now. New people are aware of that and what that looks like when you had the sheriffs up there and they're like doing security for ICE. It was, people saw that for the first time. I saw it in 2020, so it ain't new to me. I've seen what that looks like. But a lot of people saw that, and that's not good.
And they being this administration, they need to do more. But I'm not going to hold my breath that the federal government's going to do the right thing.
So then what?
What I am going to do is I'm going to bet on the people of this state. And when we come into this legislative session, an expectation is this should be a bipartisan effort to protect these businesses, to protect what we have in Minnesota, to make changes here to improve this state. That should be very easy. And I think we've seen just some of the data surrounding this. There's very few things in this state that are more unpopular than what just happened to us. And there's few things that are more popular than recovery and supporting small businesses. So Minnesota, I know you've been through a lot. I know that we're still in the deep part of winter, but it's going to be 40 today here. The sun's going to be shining, probably a pretty good metaphor for spring is out there, summer over the horizon, but it's going to take a lot of work. So the expectation is of myself and our administration and the elected leaders, we get busy in this legislative session and start repairing the damage from this, start putting in safeguards that it doesn't happen again. And I think using the momentum that we have to celebrate, Minnesota's reputation has been pretty well solidified out there of caring, gritty people who back down to nothing and do the right thing for their neighbors. And I think now we continue that same attitude into this legislative session and into this recovery to help the folks standing behind me and thousands of others to get back what they do best, creating jobs, creating opportunities, creating a good life.
My jobs.
Being able to see their children go off to school and then celebrate by, watching a baseball game when things start up here this spring. We're not asking that much, but there's going to be work to do. You've got our pledge that we will do everything possible to make that happen, and today is a very small first step, but it is a concrete step that can make a difference. With that, I'm going to turn to Deed Commissioner Matt Verilek to talk a little bit about how we expect this program to work, and then we'll hear from Henry as a spokesperson for what the impact has been of a small business and what this can do to help. Commissioner Verilek?
I'm guessing the small business recovery then?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Governor. And I would echo, first of all, the Governor's sense of Minnesota pride right now for all that we've been through and the way we have stood up, and also the optimism about the fact that we now may be at a transition point in this process, if indeed the federal presence will be winding down. But I want to emphasize what he said, that the economic impacts will be very long-lasting. It was maybe a couple of weeks ago or so that we stood up with some of these very same small business owners and highlighted there the massive negative economic impact that is resulting from the fact that a lot of workers don't feel comfortable showing up. A lot of customers don't feel comfortable showing up, and so we're seeing massive reductions in that foot traffic, massive reductions in revenue, et cetera. And so that's why it is so important, first of all, that the Governor launched the Shop Local campaign as part of our Shop Local Stand Together effort in this month of February, and now this additional measure of the $10 million in targeted small business partially forgivable loans we think is another important step. And just to elaborate on that a little bit, the notion is that the loans would be 0% over 3 years.
Okay, so if you apply for that stuff, make sure you go on the, if you're a small business that's been affected by, and I'm sure they hear from a small business. I want to hear Walls answer questions. But yeah, if you've been a small business affected by the federal raids, whenever they drop a link to apply for whatever they got, do it. Get the money. Go apply. Don't have pride, just do it.
We see you, we hear you, we value everything that you bring. We understand here in Minnesota that there is no Minnesota without our immigrant community. And it was the wave of Norwegian and German immigrants a century ago, Hmong immigrants half a century ago, Somali, East African, no matter where you come from. We believe in those words. Give us your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be breathe free. This is a place you can breathe free. And my message to you is, the majority of Minnesotans and Americans stand on your side. They stand on the side that immigration is the core of who we are and that human decency. So as we go on this long road to recovery, it's going to be hard for many of you to get back the trust, to be able to go out again without fear you're going to be asked for your papers or to be singled out because of how you look. We in here in Minnesota have always made that clear, and I will attest that's why we were the target of this, because we are a successful multiracial, multicultural state that has one of the highest standards of living, that values our people and understands the people standing behind us are making that happen. So it's going to be a long road, but I think you saw, and I'll say it again, Minnesotans are decent, caring, loving neighbors, and they're also some of the toughest damn people you'll ever find, and we're in this as long as it takes. With that, we'll take some questions.
Governor, how did this come together? You've been in talks quite a while with Borders Tom Homan. Can you walk us through that?
We have been communicating a lot, and I just want to note the way the state of Minnesota is addressing immigration is exactly the same today as it was 3 weeks ago, or 3 months ago, or 3 years ago. We've said that we are more than willing, and we understand it's our responsibility, and we support humane, rule of law immigration reform. It's why I've advocated as a member of Congress and as a governor that we need to have reforms that allow a path to citizenship for the folks we want here and the ability to do targeted enforcement for those who shouldn't be here. So we continue to express that. We continue to work. I think probably what changed was when Tom Homan came here, I could get a conversation with someone. Not a single interaction, Kristi Noem, Bavino, or any of the rest.
Did you have to slide him a briefcase?
Of them, and an arrogance that it didn't matter. And I think, as I said again, it became very clear to the administration, especially after the murders of Renee and Alex and the horrific actions of these agents on the ground, that an issue the president saw himself as being strong, certainly politically, has eroded into a albatross around their neck. And so I think, and my take was, they knew they needed to get out of here, but in very Trumpian fashion, they needed to save face. So
and Walls isn't wrong about that. That's what I was telling you guys before we started watching this, that the politics of the ICE raids have been so bad. And then you stack he hasn't even mentioned it, but because it's not really the issue he's referred, but the Epstein files stacked on top of it. And it's just like, it was already bad. And it's like ultra bad. So that's likely, or that is why Homan came and replaced Bavino. Nothing immediately changed in terms of like the amount of agents that were out there. The daytime gassing and the flashbangs stopped. And just seeing that driving on Lake Street, you just see like a plume of tear gas on like Thursday, when Border Patrol was here. But I mean, it quickly changed because they needed to save face, because MAGA runs off of populism. They run off vibes, and the vibes are not with them. They're negative aura right now for MAGA.
We've been talking, and I will say this. Tom Homan said today that he and I disagree on a lot of things. That is probably an understatement. But as I said when he first came in, and first thing he did was call me when he landed and then meet the next morning, is that at least there was a consistency to what he said, and he followed through with it. So we got indications that this is where they were headed. And again, I think probably we would be back to that pre-surge number in the very near future. So, yes, ma'am.
Does this announcement change the way you're thinking about DHS funding and whether they should receive funding going forward?
No, and I just want to be, this is a really kind of tricky thing with this administration, because they change their mind, or if they think, the president thinks he's not getting the upper hand. I'm certainly not going to spike the football, but you're not going to hear me express any gratitude for the people who caused this unnecessary, unwarranted, and in many cases unconstitutional assault on our state. And my expectation is we still need to have those investigations. And I'm telling you, in this economic crisis they created, all of these cabinet agents came in here to try and please the president by attacking Minnesota. So we have a $2 billion cut from Dr. Oz in our DHS programs that are rural hospitals and things. So it doesn't change it at all. And I think the lessons learned, I'm more than happy to help Congress say some things, is in America, you cannot expect that the people are going to be okay with masked, unidentified people running you off the road and coming to your vehicle at gunpoint like we saw in St. Peter, Minnesota. So,
no, MAGA will just be mad that you ran stop signs. They'll be more mad at that. They'll be more mad that the Super Bowl halftime show was in Spanish. They'll be more mad that a company updated their logo. That's what MAGA gets mad at. But when it comes to pedophile, elite, corporate billionaires, and our president, and also masked armed federal agents stripping you of multiple amendments, no, that's you shouldn't have been out there. You got to stay in your house. That's how you avoid any problems. You don't leave. You stay in your house. You don't go anywhere. You don't talk to anyone, and then you're never in the way. That's how MAGA was the whole time.
So if ICE, which Tom Homan's right about this, they have a mission. Now, I don't know if this iteration of ICE can last, but the idea of immigration reform and border control, we all agree with that. What we disagree with is that what happened in Minnesota had anything to do with that. It did not. So I hope, and I would encourage, and we have been contacting with Leader Jeffries and Senator Schumer to hold the line till you get the at least minimum reforms necessary in this rogue agency to get something done. So yes.
This still doesn't totally answer the question on everyone's minds, which is when are these ICE agents leaving?
Yeah, when they go.
Some of them will stay and sort of go back to business as usual.
Good question.
Repositioned around the state, but
Mr. Homan said this week and early next week. I talked to Mr. Homan after his press conference, and he assured me that they are going, all the surge is going, and they're going immediately. So as soon as they can pack their stuff, book a plane, move on, I would volunteer. We will help you get to the airport. We will clear the roads to get you to the airport. I will
Nice.
come over and pack your damn bags if that's what it takes.
No, tell them you can file on an app.
But I think it does answer
You can self-deport out of Minnesota. He should have said that. That would have been funnier.
Question. And again, this is a trust but verify. I am skeptically optimistic. I have no reason to not believe that when Tom Homan said they will be gone almost immediately. So it'd be my expectation, I think, certainly by the middle of next week, this is back to the 150. So yeah.
Where do things stand on the status of a joint investigation?
Yeah.
So there'll probably still be protests this weekend. There's every Friday and Saturday they're planned until ICE leaves. So we'll have protest Friday, we'll protest Saturday, and then we'll monitor next week. I'll do my news at noon. I got obviously ability to watch and see if something happens. But yeah, we just gotta wait and see, I guess, huh?
I think, and I'm trying to look, I don't know all the details because it's not what a executive branch should do to interfere with an independent judicial branch. And so as far as the BCA goes, they do what they need to do. And it was my understanding we were very close to a joint agreement. And then at least what we're hearing is that was pulled back. And this is somewhat a speculation, but it's how I'm viewing it, just to be candid with all of you, that the federal government pulled back because there was a leak before they could announce it. So I think we all have to be really careful. This is like a fourth grade game of who gets last hit type of thing. This administration always has to get the last word. This administration always has to be viewed that they won. And in this case, I think they understand they have got to do a joint investigation. So it is my expectations we will get a joint investigation. I would hope that...
And not really concrete there. Hopium.
This surge leaving and at least that piece being off, because that's one of the three demands that we will have to see here. This was getting rid of the surge, independent investigation, and then stop the attack on our state government agencies. So as I know right now is we were very close. I think obviously there's a contingent inside the FBI and the federal government that understands the only way you do these is through a joint investigation. And it's very clear, and again,
they were able to cover up so much, though, just from the scene. The crime scenes were crazy, especially the Alex Pretty scene. They like tear gassed and flashbanged and just walked all over it, and then obviously the BCA didn't get there until like a day later. They covered it up at the scenes, both of them, and then to not even turn over any of the evidence that the feds did collect out there to the state is crazy. That's why, I mean, that's then and there. Like when Renee Good was murdered and the Minneapolis police were cucked, and you had the Mayor Fry and the chief were down there, and they were like cucked, and that's when the police should have just been like, "Nah, this is our crime scene," and it should have been a whole thing. It should have been a whole drama. It absolutely should have been.
Anybody in the administration or outside of Minnesota thinks because this surge that they're leaving, that somehow everything's okay and we've forgotten about this. The folks who are out there asking for this are going to turn their attention to these other things now. And so my hope is, and it could go a long ways, is we get an announcement in the near term. Again, we're only asking for what's always been done. We're only asking for the right thing, and we're only asking for what is the core of who we are. Justice needs to be served. And I don't know. I do not know. We saw yesterday the federal government's putting a ton of effort into trying to indict 6 members of Congress, the House and Senate, and a grand jury said, "Are you out of your minds?" and threw those out. So what we need what's left of a decimated U.S. Attorney's Office here to get back to the work of stopping drug trafficking, stopping crime that's there, helping us on fraud investigations, and then getting us this investigation. So nothing further yet, but I think the framework is in place, and it's just a matter of them feeling like they have an upper hand to announce it, and I hope that would happen soon. Yeah. Go ahead.
There are folks who have concerns about this final agreement. Can you talk about what is in that, and has anything changed from the state's?
Nothing has changed. The final agreement is that Minnesota would continue to do what we do, which is law enforcement, honor those things, and that we would do what has always been expected and has done for decades here, is if there's someone who is in a Minnesota prison and there is an ICE asking us to hold them, once their sentence is served, we notify ICE and turn them over. And that has, in every single case, you've done the investigative work, that's what's happened. So nothing has been changed. They continued to ask me. One of their demands is that I ask people to be peaceful in their protesting. That's an easy thing for me to do because that's what I said. But I'm not going to ask them to not be on the streets. I'm not going to ask them to give up their constitutional, their First Amendment rights, their Second Amendment rights, their Fourth Amendment rights, and for the state, the 10th Amendment rights. So what I've been telling,
which people have already lost, obviously all those, and then the protests have been peaceful the whole time. There was like a couple of the hotel ones. Definitely. I was at one of them and then the second one. But that was, there was some weird shit about those ones. There was right-wing Frontlines, TPUSA media was right there to video it. And it was weird. It was weird. Even ask Status Quo and ask John and JT. They were out there for the second one where it got, where the corrections officer and was bleeding and shit out in the doorway. It was off. The vibes were off. It was different. I think there was some individuals in that crowd that were likely out there to try to incite something, and Minnesotans know about that now, especially after 2020, especially after what happened back then. They know, like, when people are going too hard, like, it's like, oh, is this person just unhinged, or are they, is this how they want to engage in what they want to do, or is it somebody that's trying to be out there because right-wing media paid them to be out there to try to do shit? Because that's a thing too. So those two definitely, but at just like 2020, even though 2020 there were actual riots, real ones, but even just now, since December 4th, the majority of the protests were mostly overwhelmingly peaceful the entire time. And people are standing there with fucking signs, throwing dildos, obviously taking their aggression out on the feds by swearing at them and yelling swear words, I don't know. Swear words and dildos versus 2020 when buildings were burning down, and on Lake Street and shit. None of that happened. As much as the right wing was trying, because they sent their top little crisis actors here. Yep, they sent their top crisis actors. They sent their top media figures. They got the Antifa roundtable, freaking VOT of Revengers that they got. The VOT, like it reminds me of like for media, but in The Boys. But they're like shitty. They don't even have superpowers. I don't know, but like they have like a roundtable of crisis actors. And they brought all of them, and they tried to incite and rile people up and do the most, and none of that happened. Okay, so it was mostly just people marching in signs, especially when it became like the massive protests. The ones with the most amount of people involved are the ones downtown, and not the building. Nobody's even boarding up. Like in 2020. People like were boarding up to the peaceful protests. It was like I empathize. I understood, but there was a point in like 2020 where it was like a couple of weeks after the riots had ended, where there were still buildings like boarding up when they'd hear about a march downtown. It was cringe, but no one's doing that. No one's like, people are out walking around enjoying their day, and like a massive march, like tens of thousands of people will just go by. You know what I mean? Like people literally just doing something else in downtown Minneapolis. Or a sports team is there, or whatever. They're just going about their day. And then, boom, massive 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 person march just coming down the street. So no one's like, oh my God, protests, scary, riots. That's what the right wing wants you to believe, though. That's what the right wing wants you to believe about those protests, and why they call just protests riots. And I saw this back in 2020. And I was fighting my own base my own viewers at the time, because I guess I developed a MAGA viewer base, unfortunately, I was getting mad. I'm like, there's no riots happening. They'd be in my chat like in 2020, and it would be like it was like July when there weren't riots anymore or whatever, and they were like, the riots are coming out tonight. Thanks, Merc. I'm like, there's no riots, guys. Like, they're gonna be marching. There's probably gonna be a vigil. I don't know. Like, no one's rioting. I don't know. And so I just got tired of them. I just got tired of most of my viewers back in 2020. Not all of you though, because a lot of you guys are still around. But they were so MAGA because I filmed the riots. That was the first thing I did, and they love that shit. They pretend like they hate it, but they are riot porn addicts. They love that. They love all of that. So for the past 2 months, all of these right-wing streamers and content creators have been calling your protests in Minnesota, which have just literally been people standing now in like 2 cages up at the Whipple building, but just standing there with signs yelling "fuck ICE" or "ICE out" and whatever. You know what I mean? And they're calling that riots. Or like when the police come out and they got a tear gas and flashbang and pepper ball to make it look chaotic, and then they film videos for X, and then they clip that and be like, look at these riots and look at how crazy it is up here. But you were just standing there. Yep. Just things I learned 6 years ago, but it's back, and it's the federal government did this in Portland. That's why I saw the federal government do this. But in 2020, it was a lot of local police doing this. It's just now it's just a new phase, and nobody's taking out their aggression on property. You know, like in 2020, it's just different now. Different energy, different focus, and they're not people in Minnesota did not respond how the right wing wanted them to, which is to like go just not even have control of your body, just start raging out like that, because they were lying and saying that's what was happening. They were saying Minnesotans were rioting and like it's just this lawless state and it's just like misery. The federal government brought misery, definitely. The federal government brought that chaotic shit, but in general, Minnesota is so chill. It's really not. It's really not. And 2020 happened for sure, obviously, but that was a week and a half in 2020 before it like the riots had ended and it became peaceful protests. Actually did. But beyond after that though, it's been 6 years since then, since anything chaotic, and the chaos that's happening is not caused by civilians. It's not caused by people out there doing bad things. It's caused by the federal government out there doing bad things and people just reacting with whistles, honking their horns, and they'd see the government taking out their phones that they paid $500 or $1,000 for a phone, and then your monthly payment you pay, and then they're using that to videotape them, which you can do. And the government didn't like that. And the government had a big problem with that, obviously. And then they call you terrorists now for just having a whistle and bundling up to stay warm. And even if you live in that neighborhood, nope, you're an Antifa terrorist for having a whistle around your neck now. Congratulations. You're on the team now. You're one of us. I became an Antifa terrorist in 2020. A George Soros paid actor. All that. Thank you for the 10 gifted from JT. Who, by the way, make sure you guys go follow Status Coup, go follow JT. But we had a great conversation on NPR, and I'm hoping that we can be a part of a larger podcast about everything that's gone on. Because I feel like we had just warmed up and then it was over. We only got to talk. Yeah, we got to talk for 45 minutes, I think. But yeah, it was definitely not long enough. So yeah, that's what I had to say.
Their Second Amendment rights, their Fourth Amendment rights, and for the state, the 10th Amendment rights. So what I've been telling you is this is exactly what we've been doing. And when I went to Congress 2 months ago and testified for 8 hours, as they incorrectly said Minnesota is not adhering to this, I testified for 8 hours. Nothing came out of that, and yet they came here. So I think to tell people, we're just going to follow the law. And when it comes to this, no one's disagreeing that you shouldn't have immigration enforcement. But it should be with due process, and everybody gets that. And it certainly should be done humanely. And you certainly, if you're truly going to focus on the worst of the worst, Why are you going after our neighbors who are in the system, following the law, trying to reach naturalization? That doesn't make any sense. So nothing, Minnesota.
Because I've been telling you guys, MAGA lies, obviously. What a statement, obviously. But they were like, we're just going to go, like the politicians and even Trump were like, we're just going to go after the worst of the worst. But no, they want to go after anyone that's an immigrant. Nope, don't matter. They're against legal immigration too. They lie. They tell you, oh, we just want legal immigration. Nope, they don't want any immigration. No, nope, none of it, none of it. And if you came here, and then their whole justification of like why working class immigrants are okay to be deported, because they're like, well, being here illegally is crime, so therefore criminal, right? So then they're like, well, I don't care then, because they're illegally here, criminal by default. And that's their brain and how it works. So they lie and they'll say they're just for the worst of the worst immigrants or immigrants that are whatever, you know what I mean? Like but they clearly lied about that. That we have 2 months straight now, be it also in addition to last year, going back to Broadview and going back to other places around the country that are facing immigration enforcement. They're going after working class immigrants. They're going after your like literally neighbors. They were going door to door, not kicking doors down. People that are already like there might be an illegal immigrant, but they're on paperwork. Like the state is tracking that immigrant and like that they're a working class and they're not gonna. We have a sanctuary state. They're not gonna do anything to them if they're a working class person, and they're a part of a community and like they're engaging in whatever. Like honestly, because who cares then? Like who gives an actual fuck? MAGA does, because immigrant, okay, are you legal or illegal? Okay, illegal, then criminal, then they gotta go. Don't matter if they're no crimes committed at all, or if they don't have any type of criminal background. It's because they're here illegally. They're like, therefore, by default, criminal. And that's wrong, right? It's terrible. But that's why when Tim Walz is saying this, that's the answer to it, is because they lie, obviously, but they're not really for any immigration at all. That's the actual truth. They don't want anyone coming here. They want to close. What do you think close the border means? Or like they want to put fucking the West Bank wall on the southern border, basically, because they don't want no one coming here, actually, legal or illegal. They don't want no immigration because they're white nationalists. They want white nationalism to succeed. How can white nationalism succeed if you're bringing black and brown people here or other people here, whatever? If you're not fulfilling their white nationalist vision of America. It's always been like that with them, but even more so now with Trump. And like this mass deportation program was the first time these white nationalists were like, finally, we're getting what we want. We're like truly actually what we want, which is like, if you are any type of immigrant, you're gone. And also in the indigenous population too, which aren't immigrants, obviously, but because they're different color skin, they're lumped in too. And how wrong is that? By the indigenous community getting ice and fucking in the reservations. Insane work. Actually insane. All that's been happening.
Is doing what we did, but I'll tell you what, it steeled our resolve of how much we're going to protect our immigrant community. It steeled our resolve that we will do what we should do, they should do their job, and it's become very apparent to the people of America that this is not the way to do it. This is not the way to go about it. This doesn't make us any safer. And so with that, yeah, go ahead.
Any updates?
Strong and brave words, but like it's gotta be to the point where you put policy forward where they can't do this again. You can't shame them out of this at this point. You can shame some of the normies that are left, I guess. I don't consider them normies really, if they voted for Trump a third time. But like they've shaved off for sure. They've shaved off a lot of their voter base now between these federal raids and the Epstein files. And also the lack of a lot of people were shaved off last year because of the federal government jobs that were slashed immediately. And also we didn't get cheaper. Our grocery prices haven't changed. The gas prices haven't changed. Russia's invasion of Ukraine continues. Israel's genocide of Gaza continues, and like they're also their future imperialistic goals are still on the table, obviously. So none of that's changed. Nothing has changed. It's like just gotten worse. He continues to invest in AI. He continues to make himself richer and personally enrich himself. He's been so exposed by these Epstein files that are still coming out as I'm speaking right now. People are still going through them because millions of files came out. It's already been bad for like a week and a half now. So all of that is stacked against him significantly in the current phase of everything that's going on. But I'm just concerned about now that they're in a corner. I feel that they're just going to carry out whatever they want, no matter how unpopular it is. But right now they're working with the populism, like definitely the populism against these raids on top of, well, with the Epstein files now on top of these federal raids as to what people are paying attention to. And it's just like federal raids were damning for Trump. And then Epstein release 2 is like, fuck, dude, people are losing it right now. Actually, they're like, don't know what to think anymore because of what they're reading and seeing that's coming out of those.
Progress on the flow of federal dollars to state agencies, state programs, that sort of thing.
Hey, what up, Maxwell?
No, not. Thank you for the question. And this question about the flow of federal dollars, and and you saw this. I think you saw it yesterday in the hearing on Capitol Hill on the Epstein files. Each of these agency heads, and I mean that is certainly troubling in that about the non-independence of the branch of the AG's office, law enforcement, but each of these cabinet secretaries wanted to please their boss so much, they just came to Minnesota and piled things onto us, piled in data requests, piled in letters, threatened to withhold money, threatened to do all of this.
Because Minnesota, blue state, Minnesota political enemy. That's why. And Project 2025. So all of that, all of this entire attack on Minnesota, like all of it is by design. Okay, just letting you guys know that it was supposed to be, and obviously it's been fucking terrible to experience. But this is all part of when Trump won in 2024, this was going to happen. It's just obviously I didn't know how bad it was truly going to actually feel like out there. It was dark times, definitely really bad.
Those are the things that are doing immense damage at a time when we're going to need that. And I remind people of this. Minnesota contributes more than we get from the federal government. Mm-hmm. When it came time to look at things like a scale on how solid and lack of corruption in state government, Minnesota ranks in the top 5 best states. All of the things about running things and doing it right, we follow the law, we do it right, we provide more federal dollars. And in my opinion, this unallotment around what Congress has appropriated and what the law says Minnesota should get, the president is arbitrarily, and his cabinet secretaries are arbitrarily holding that money. So back to this first question to end on, this about what DHS reform should do. We are pushing our congressional allies, and I would think the Republicans in this, before any deal is made with DHS funding, all of them need to quit this assault of, and again, I will use the president's word, retribution against Minnesota. Not because we have more undocumented people, not because of any reason other than he decided that this is a state they would try and make an example of. And look,
because it's one of those most solid blue states in the country. That's why. And there's no purple and blue. Blue.
I'm treading a pretty fine line here. He picked the wrong state to make an example of. And that is where things...
And now he made more blue. He made it more blue than it was. It was already blue as hell. Now it's even more.
Set today. So we'll see over the next few days. We are in a trust but verify phase. My word to Minnesota is, again, we're certainly not going to celebrate something that should have never happened. Right. But I will say this. Please keep, at this point in time, stay hyper vigilant. I'm afraid over these next few days with some of these folks leaving that the potential for an incident like we saw up here near the cathedral with this chase yesterday, what we don't need is some horrific thing happening on the way out. But I will say, as we started on this in the hours after the murder of Renee, is express your constitutional rights, stand up for your neighbors, speak out when you need to speak out, do so peacefully, because as I said then, and every one of you proved, the fact is, at the end of the day, that will win out. That is the way a democracy should function, and it seemed like a long ways from that January day.
And the protests did work. All of it, the whistles, the honking, the protests downtown, all of that worked. Yep. Whenever you hear somebody say protesting, remember all the MAGA the whole time? This ain't going to change nothing. When is this going to change? Bavino gone. Oh, he's gone. Nothing's going to change. Ain't nothing going to change. Blah, blah, blah. And also, too, you can have a negative mindset on this because it's been so bad, and that's fine, too. And still be vigilant. Tim Walz is here telling you to still like be looking out there and make sure that shit has changed. Make sure the situation has changed, because who knows? We can't trust anything. So, trust but verify, right? Right now, ironically. So yeah, all of that, is all of the whistles work, the protestings worked, all of that. Any type of resistance that if you've done that, if maybe you've just done media, I don't know, like I do. All of that has worked. It's been tough though. People have gone to jail. People have been killed over it though. So never forget that. But all of it has contributed to why ICE and this Operation Metro Surge is ending in Minnesota, and we hope it is, because that's what they announced today. I'm not seeing any. I'm tracking it all right now live. I'm not seeing any major ICE actions. We'll see. We just gotta watch. I guess we just had some yesterday. That was yesterday though, and then maybe after what happened in St. Paul yesterday, it was even more okay. It's because they had a multi-car wreck. That could have contributed to why he was just and then he had to, Tom Homan had to make himself look good too, and I recommended to Trump that we end the surge. I don't know. Well, again, with this administration, just like Tim Walz is saying, we have to see it ourselves.
That we would get to a point where they would say, we're leaving. But today is about a lot of destruction. Over those weeks, a lot of damage, a lot of trust has been eroded. A lot, as I said, we've got children that a core memory for them will be their classmate being taken away. And that will stick with them the rest of their lives. And my hope is what sticks with them is human decency wins out, rule of law matters, that arc of the moral universe is bending towards justice, and we are under no illusions that it will magically happen itself. All of what we're talking about today was put onto Minnesota, and it was Minnesota citizens, I'll say it again, nameless, faceless folks who endured whatever it took to make a difference. So our work is beginning here. We'll do the recovery, encouraging the legislative leaders to get ready for a recovery session. And my certainly on this is back these proposals and let's get this money to these businesses and get back to normal. Thanks, folks.
Grateful. All right, well, good press conference now. My whole thing was I wish she would have done more in the moment.
Move on to another man.
During all this. That's not relevant. That's Epstein file stuff. But yeah, this happened yesterday, and that could have been the final push. We gotta end the surge, and they had a call, because this was almost, someone was taken to the hospital. People were concerned another person was killed. It's been real bad. The SAVE Act passes. It passed in the House, 218 to 213. Unfortunately. Okay. One Democrat went with the Republicans. On voter ID. Yeah, there was a protest at the Target yesterday. In case you guys missed that. Again, I was at the press conference earlier. And that's that. U.S. House, what's this now? Heads of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Customs and Border Protection, and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration and Services testified today. Oh, we could have watched that, I suppose. It's just a mindset, guys. It's hard to adjust from live on the scene stuff and being out there to then now knowing when hearings are and paying attention to that stuff. So I'm sorry we missed this today, but we got clips up. Nikki already posted a clip. The committee played video evidence from the day Alex Priddy was killed by agents. Let's see what they say.
Okay, we can stop. You know, so it goes on. I mean, he's standing up, he's trying to protect his eyes, but
that's right. Rand Paul is spearheading this.
He's still back filming and on the back of his heels.
It's like, dude, Massey and Rand Paul are the only two Republicans left that are willing to at least use some type of accountability. That's it. That's about it. That's it. Rand Paul and Massey.
At no time in the encounter, we've gone forward a couple seconds, do you see him try to strike an officer? Nor does he brandish a weapon, which was alleged as well. And so we're going through this.
And Rand Paul actually took a very hard stance on this. Well, he was, I mean, in a Republican way. But especially about the murder of Alex Pretty. 60 Minutes has been more cool about playing clips. Yeah. Oh, we don't want to play. I don't want to play the whole thing. There you go.
Who can you kill, and when can you kill them? Those are questions Republican Senator Rand Paul is asking after the death of two people in Minneapolis at the hands of federal immigration officers.
You seem to be saying trust is broken.
Without question.
How can trust be restored?
What's at stake? Public confidence in our rules.
But anyways, yeah, you should watch the whole thing. 60 Minutes does copyright strikes, or they used to, so I don't want to play the whole thing just in case. But yeah, they did a whole segment. Rand Paul was in it. They interviewed Rand Paul. He took a hard stance against what happened to Alex Pretty specifically. He's stupid on Renee Good was murdered too. Alex Pretty was so obviously murdered, but Renee Good was as well. And it's important to not forget that.
And it's like, you know,
she wasn't driving her vehicle into the fucking agent.
They will say, oh, he's, you know, resisting at some point. I don't see any resistance, but it's kind of hard to tell when you have 6 people on you and you're moving. Are you resisting? I mean, anybody is, the natural instinct is when 6 people are on top of you, you're going to be trying to move. You're not going to be placid, particularly after they've sprayed him several times. But I see nothing here. I mean, not even a hint of something that was aggressive on his part. Everything was retreat. He's over in the street. He retreats. He retreats. The woman is pushed to the ground. He tries to assist the woman to get up. He's violently sprayed, and it just continues. And so I don't think this should take months and months and years and years. There needs to be a conclusion. You want to calm things down. I think Tom Homan being there and now saying we're going to reduce his presence in the street is a good sign and a good step forward. And I'm glad that's happening. I think that is de-escalation, true de-escalation in a diplomatic way. But we need to have answers here, and there needs to be an announcement. These are the new policies. This is how we're going to interact with the public.
Oh, Rand Paul's going to have what's called Trump derangement syndrome now. Yep, he's going to be he's out of the club if he was ever in. He was never in it really, but yeah, I mean you got to be a hyper loyalist to be relevant in MAGA now. So you're going to go. They're going to go against him now.
Public, because the public needs to know too. You know, if I go to a protest and I shout something at people, could I be killed?
Just a little further.
Let's go back. Let's go a little further on the video.
I think what we saw right there, and make sure we're seeing this, that the officer basically started to beat him with a pepper spray canister at that point. Yep. That's right before we stopped that. So to both of you, is beating someone with a spray pan with a canister, is that de-escalatory?
Or how about taking his firearm away from him when he was like literally the entire reason the Second Amendment exists was that what happened there. And like the government disarming you and then literally gunning you down. That's exactly what happened to Alex Pretty. Legal gun owner, had it legally concealed in the position that you legally put it in for concealment, which again, if you can think you can do front, side, and then back for like where you put it for concealed carry. And he had it and had his holster and everything, didn't reach for it whatsoever. Not even at all. You could clearly see his hands in the whole video. And the government took his firearm, ran away with it, and then yelled gun, gun, and then murdered him. Literally the entire point of like the Second Amendment was like Alex Pretty that day. And that was just immediately trampled on. Taken away.
You're going to give me
not
the
gonna
same
answer
answer?
that.
You don't know if that's de-escalatory? Take it away from this incident. If you just saw someone beating someone with a canister on the ground, would you think that's de-escalatory? Was that what
We're
you
leaving out what I'm seeing is a subject that's also not compliant. He's not following any guidance. He's fighting back nonstop. I don't know what they're saying. I don't know what's going on in this situation. I know.
What do you mean? Do you have the body cameras? How do you not know? Have you not watched the body cameras of all of the agents that are standing there to hear what they're saying? Because they weren't saying anything. They grabbed him and started beating him right away, and his hands were in front of him. He was like and trying to just like not get hit. He wasn't fighting back at all. Crazy work. They lie.
Know that they're all being interviewed what was going on, and that will be part of the official record. But I can't answer whether that's appropriate or not. It depends on what a reasonable officer saw at that time.
What do you mean?
So is that part of training? Do you train officers to beat somebody with a canister? If there are only several officers holding someone down, then if you're
yeah, I'd like to hear almost the whole thing. I guess maybe not now, but wild.
President
that's us.
Trump.
That's us. Okay. Go away. David posted that. Shout out to Nikki for getting those clips up. I think DHS funding might be running out too. They're in a standoff over DHS funding, but I think it's going bye-bye. I think it's gonna. I gotta plug back into this. House is done voting for the week. Recess next week. DHS shuts down tomorrow. That's what Jake Sherman put out. Is there a further update beyond that? I clicked. Official travel is canceled because of the so DHS is going to shut down. Just catching up on the latest here. Okay, well that Schumer is on the floor. We need legislation to truly halt ICE's abuses. The administration doesn't want to reform. Of course not. They just got funding granted to it. We demand reform after granting money to them and increasing the budget. Oh, well, it looks like it's going to shut down, though. So we'll see that. See how that works. Yeah, Schumer's useless. He sucks. He sucks. Go to Jake Sherman for updates on that. Did you guys watch Pam Bondi yesterday? I couldn't do it. I couldn't wake up and just listen to her. She's so bad.
And none of them asked.
I had like I think I have a quick hyper reel of it. Maybe I don't. I thought I had a oh, here it is. No. Whatever. They did like a supercut of her entire hearing, and it's like the worst. You muted her?
The Dow right now
yeah,
is
guys.
over. The Dow is over $50,000. I don't know why you're laughing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin.
Yeah,
the
Raskin.
Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000.
Guys, the Dow and the S&P. Why talk about that instead? Don't talk about the Epstein files. Talk about the economy.
And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
Yeah, talk about that instead. I'm the thought police. I tell you what to.
We should be talking about making Americans safe.
Yeah.
We should be talking about, what does a Dow have to do with anything? That's what they just asked. Are you kidding?
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Jordan.
Are you an economic representative of the Trump administration testifying on that? Or are you the fuck? Whatever. Trump's own handpicked people are going to take him down. It's fun. Of course. I mean, they're not anyone that should be in any position. And when they're actually put in front of if we have midterms, and which it's looking like, yes, the Democrats will take back at least the House, you're going to have hearings Oh boy, get ready to watch a lot of these. There's going to be a whole content niche, and yes, we will be watching them because it's actually, we can get baked and get upset, but also laugh, because then the Democrats will have some power. Then they have nothing right now, but they'll have, if we have midterms and if they win, which again it does look like it, it'll be a whole lot of hearings and impeachments and shit like you saw yesterday with Pam Bondi, but with like all of Trump's cabinet. And it's just going to be a round table of just this all the time.
And
it'll be even crazier if they win the Senate too, which I don't think so. The House, but I don't know about the Senate.
None of them ask Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein. How ironic is that? You know why? Because Donald Trump, the Dow.
Do you know why? Because Trump, Dow. Talk about that. Tell the truth or be Jamaican, Pam Bondi.
Big bomber class before busting on me head. A sexy girl says she want to give me head. When me fuck pussy turn red.
Oh, my whole For You is Pam Bondi. So I had to click at least one of them. Oh, Derek is free, by the way, in case you guys were wondering, because Derek got arrested at the Target. He's good. When you're ruled by a satanic child trafficking pedophiles, but the Dow Jones Industrial Average is over 50K. Oh God, what did this guy have to say today? More money to Israel? I met with Secretary Noam. I've always treated her with respect. I refuse and never will engage in the kinds of sexist terms like ICE, Barbie, and the...
I met with Secretary Noam, and I've always treated her with respect. I met with her in my office, and I refuse and I never will engage on the kinds of sexist kinds of terms like ICE, Barbie. From a lot of the left media will use those kind of things.
Strong and brave. Wow. Someone give oh my God, dude. Give this guy the award for the day. He gets the award. Incredible. What such strength. Truly.
And now I said, hey, I'm a Democrat, and I say secure our border. Yeah. And deport all of the criminals. Yeah.
Wow.
I think we can sign up on that.
Who voted for this guy?
And then my friend Katie,
I bet you feel upset about that now.
Katie Britt came to me and said, we want to
Katie Britt was the one that they filmed the kitchen video in.
Came to me and said, we want to bring the Laken Riley bill there. And I'm like, yeah, I was going to be the Democrat to bring that there. And now we the co-sponsor as the Democrat. So I believe that we should have those kinds of appropriate things. And
the two are connected how? What? That he sucks. Fetterman sucks. Boo. Boo. Ron Johnson, are you aware of training for activists, Mr. Oh, because Keith Ellison was testifying. Oh, nice. Base Keith Ellison here for a second.
State Senator Mark Cron. And in his testimony, he was talking about local reports of something like 30,000, they call them observers, being trained.
30,000 observers. What?
Okay, I thought that was an incredible figure.
Yeah. She probably should have been like, that's bullshit. But no, not Republicans, though. Got to act on it.
There actually were, but
yeah,
it certainly sounds that there are activists being trained. Are you aware of training for activists, Mr.
30,000 trained activists.
Nelson, in Minnesota, that some of these protesters literally went through training. There are groups out there providing training. Are you aware of that?
That part's true. I don't know about 30,000 people, though. But yeah, that part's true.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I mean, it's common for people to use their First Amendment right to protest things that they don't believe are right.
Hell yeah, hell yeah.
Were you aware of the
First Amendment activity, sir?
Yeah. Were you aware of the signal chats? I believe it was the Lieutenant Governor of Minnesota was actually helping manage one of those signal chats that were deploying those.
Uh-oh, Cam Higbee, this is your moment. Yeah, my signal chats.
Trained activists to the legal law enforcement
chats.
Actions. Were you aware of that signal trap?
That was like a whole thing. Like the right wing thought that was a whole expose, and that it was fucking nothing. Like, who cares? Like, okay, the neighborhood app exists. I mean, Facebook groups to track your neighborhood exists. Wow, group chats that people put together to monitor neighborhood activity. Wow, such an expose. Wow.
Chat that's being used to deploy those people.
I'm aware.
Deploy those people. They get activated, actually.
It exists, but this is First Amendment activity, sir.
What? They get deployed. That's wild. Yep. They get the orders come in the signal chat, and then you go out there. That's wild. That was wild. Also, here, I'm criticizing this now because now that this is over, but I gave a strongly worded email to this man, and I'll never like unironically watch one of his videos unless he talks about Minneapolis again. But I already unsubbed and everything. Fuck Ryan McBeth. But he did a video on Minneapolis, and I couldn't even. I made it through maybe a few minutes because Ryan McBeth did a whole 15-minute video about this, about the documented response, and just watch. And he got fucking cooked in his comments. Where's his comments? Why is that not here? Did you can't turn off comments, right? There it is. The comments are just destroying him. So anyways, just this guy is like an intelligence guy. I liked him because of his honesty with Ukraine, but I guess that has its limits. Because I mean, Ukraine's a really easy thing to be on the right side of if you like have a functioning brain. But a lot of people over time like have dog shit opinions on other things, and it's like, why can't you just be consistent? You know what I mean? Because like, yes, you supporting Ukraine it's a defensive war. Russia's committing an imperialism on Ukraine. Definitely good to support Ukraine. But then why not other places too that are also fighting imperialism? Why why just Iran? And like, why is the Iran protests based and good, but U.S. protests or Palestine protests or whatever, those are communists. That's communism. Crazy.
How are protesters in Minneapolis organizing so fast in response?
God, how are they doing it? How are they doing it?
To immigrations and customs enforcement raids? Why are they suddenly using whistles and secure communications?
Yeah. Suddenly. It hasn't developed over the course of 2 months, but it just so suddenly happened.
Well, I found a document on the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America's website that is a training document for anti-immigrations and customs enforcement protesters. You can find the PowerPoint presentation and all the supporting documentation at ryanfett.substack.com as well.
Or you could just go to the website. You don't have to go to your Substack to get to this website. If you can just be like, this is the website.
A link to this particular church website. Now, what's interesting is that the first thing I think of when I wake up in the morning, the last thing I think of before I go to sleep, is how to defeat the People's Liberation Army.
That could be a problem. If that's the first thing you're thinking of when you wake up, and then when you go to bed, and it's like how to defeat the PLA, that's a problem.
When they attack Taiwan 2027, 2028. And so I have learned a heck of a lot about the People's Liberation Army in the past.
Wow, that should absolutely help you in your analysis of the Minneapolis protests. Let's see how this goes.
Years,
yep.
Including reading Mao Zedong's book on guerrilla warfare.
Wow, incredible.
Which described 3 phases to guerrilla warfare. And by the way, you can find that at ryanbeth.substack.com for free. In On Guerrilla Warfare, Mao Zedong writes that there are 3 phases to guerrilla warfare. Phase 1 is organization, consolidation, and preservation. Phase 2 is progressive expansion. Phase 3 is decision or destruction of the enemy. And looking at the protests in Minneapolis strictly from an intelligence analyst perspective, in some ways, I am seeing behaviors that are reminiscent of the nascent insurgency in Iraq in 2003.
Comparing the Minneapolis protests to the nascent insurgency in Iraq in 2003. Like, go touch grass. Go do something else. Your brain is absolutely fried by all of the medallions and all of the bullshit behind you. You are cooked. You are permanently in Hearts of Iron match. You are permanently in a fucking Civilization game. Like, go somewhere else. That's insane. And then the email exchange I had with him over this video, and he's like, if things don't calm, I read it out on stream once. If things don't calm down, it's gonna be like the Unabomber, and someone's gonna go to the fucking ice building. And I'm like, what the? Or you could come here and like see it yourself with your 1 million subscriber YouTube channel and like just stand there and see what it's actually like as an intelligence expert. I guess not, though. I guess you couldn't come here and see it yourself.
At least based on organizations, secure communications, roles and positions within cells.
The unvetted chats that are what secure communications? How? They're literally unvetted, and it literally says in the chats, like, these chats are monitored by feds, police, press, and anyone and everyone that gets a hold of the fucking link. Remember that. Unvetted. Open comms. What are you talking about?
And organizations supporting the protests. Protests need funding in order to...
Oh, here comes the funding conspiracy of the protests. Oh, man. Ryan's really, like, getting that Newsmax money. Oh, boy.
Continue and to grow large and turn into a movement.
Because you have your own paycheck and then go to the... oh, my... Like, this is who he's comparing the Minneapolis protest to. Because he's a fucking loser. But you and your money in which you go and buy hand warmers and then bring it to the mutual aid table, or like, food that could be eaten right away or whatever, or people bring stuff or coffee, especially right now because it's cold. All of that is paid by somebody. Somebody paid for that. You didn't. Someone did, though. I don't know who did.
Similar to
that's right-wing media. That's how right-wing media works, and Ryan works for him. I still remember people were like, Ryan, he works for Newsmax, but we need one of our own in there. That's why he works for Newsmax. My fucking ass.
The way Iran helped fund Shia militia organizations back in Iraq.
Yeah, just like the Shia militia organizations. That's how Minneapolis, same. It's the same.
In the 2000s.
Right.
Now, this doesn't mean that the U.S. is about to see an insurgency, but all of the pieces are there.
Yeah, they're there.
And this may be a clue to the current administration that perhaps their current tactics are feeding this insurgency mindset. When this happens, you may want to recalibrate. So let's go over this document.
The insurgency.
From the church. To start, this document was generated by two organizations, States at the Core and Protect Rogers Park, or Protect RP. States at the Core describes himself as a partner that fills in resource gaps for community leaders and organizers across the country who are facing everything from white nationalist rallies to school board takeovers to political violence.
Wow.
States at the Core...
Hold on. We need to put the... This is right-wing media, though. Organizing and supporting protests is somehow funded, and like that's like ooh, that could start an insurgency, and like it's like Iraq. It's like Iraq. It's like the Shia militias. It's like basically that. Here's my... Hold on. No, I need my music. Where is it? I used to have all of these. No, it's the gotta have it's our conspiracy music. No, give me my music. Okay, here you go. This is the one. Is this the one? No, it's not the one. That's the bridge. Whatever. I don't know. I used to have it all set up. I gotta get all that reworked. It's been a long time. Whatever.
Is sponsored by the Hopewell Fund, which is a charity that helps social entrepreneurs and other change makers quickly launch new and innovative social change projects. They have a revenue of $208 million. That is a big war chest. The other organization is Protect Rogers Park, which is a grassroots community organization formed to protect vulnerable neighbors. They do not appear to have any external funding. So it sounds like Protect RP provided the expertise for this document and maybe states at the core provides the funding for the organization that puts out this document. So now let's talk about the actual document. The first funny thing I thought was, in the Army, you have to sit through a lot of PowerPoint presentations, and I guess if you're a protester, you're no different. This PowerPoint presentation is 35 pages long. And it starts with the learning objectives, which are the administration seeking to generate cruel and chaotic imagery, normalize militarization, large shows of armed force, targeting anyone in the area, combined with aggressive surveillance, arrest, and persecution of nonviolent protesters. The next slide brings us into perspective and maybe where the current administration message has been lost in its execution. This isn't about our immigrant neighbors. Immigration is a testing ground for how civil rights will be comprehensively undermined for all.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering why some people view immigrations and customs enforcement actions as lawful actions and others view it as a threat to democracy, this is kind of the key difference here. And there's a big chasm between these two viewpoints.
Why? Why is there a chasm? What has created that? That wow, with your intelligence analysis brain that you have this intelligence channel, why is there a disconnect? It's not just, two opposing sides just because they just are like that. It's because people are supporting these immigration raids and ICE because they're either fucking white nationalists or Nazis, or they really got swept up into the ignorance of the administration of like, they're going to go after the worst of the worst only. Nope. And then the reason why people are against it is because they're seeing it. They're seeing the enforcement. They're getting tear gassed or flashbanged for just standing outside with a whistle, or they're being detained and like ripped out of their vehicle, and then their vehicle is like just left there in the middle of the street, or they're murdered, or they're killed in broad daylight, right? Renee Good and Alex Pretty were murdered, which is what you started your fucking video talking about. Very actual valid reasons for people to be against that. Let's see if Ryan breaks it down. Let's see if he explains those very important details as to why there's two opposing viewpoints on this situation right now.
Both sides view this as a zero-sum game with no political accommodation. When two sides are talking about the same thing, but one views it as a law enforcement action and the other views it as an existential threat to liberty, that is a recipe for violence. The next slide talks about the purpose of ICE Watch. They say it is a tactic to document the enforcement action. It's not about interference or violence. Now, whether Immigration and Customs Enforcement perceives the actions of protesters as non-interference is up for debate. And the definition of interference is also up for debate. If you are warning people that ICE agents are approaching by blowing a whistle, I can see how ICE might interpret that as interference, even if you are not
Get the hell. Blowing a whistle is interference. I can see how an ICE agent would. I can see how blowing a whistle would be while he's playing a video of people throwing snowballs at the Minneapolis police because they came there to provide security for ICE agents after they fuck people up, like deceptive ass right wing media shit. Playing that because that's the Minneapolis police.
If you are warning people that ICE agents are approaching by blowing a whistle, I can see how ICE might interpret that as interference, even if you are not physically blocking an agent from performing their duties. Now, the goals here, the stated goals, are to document, support, and de-escalate.
I want to reiterate the fact that in this document that he's reading, it literally says nonviolent. It literally, before he just got over that fast, but it says it's literally not about interfering. It's non-violent tactic on the slide prior to that. But he's like, ICE agents are probably right, actually. And it's probably I know it says don't interfere and people aren't actually interfering, but it is because an ICE agent could just say it is. And I can understand that. Absolute loser take.
Finish violence. The next page is pretty interesting. This is what's called a salute report or size, activity, location, uniform, time.
And he's going to say some shit like, this is very unique to just the military. And talk about how this is a military thing. I wonder if he's going to assess that veterans are a part of the situation here. And people that have served in the military are providing knowledge to civilians on how to identify things faster and how to get important information out quicker. And the military does teach you how to do that.
Of observation.
Let's see what he says. No, it's a Maoist conspiracy. They got it from Mao Zedong book.
Something the military teaches. Every soldier or Marine knows what a salute report is.
Right.
And when you're getting to this point, it shows a level of organization that is beyond the average protester just kind of showed up. So this is a style for reporting where ICE agents are, what they are doing,
very
and
simple.
How to get there.
Very simple, very easy to do. Very, very easy. Anyone can learn it. And it's why it's acronymed up. Because in the military, they expect you to not know shit either. And like, it's easier to remember acronyms and like attach the words to the acronym. And that's how you learn shit in the military, at least in the Army, fast.
Right. In fact, there is even websites where you can report an Immigrations and Customs Enforcement license plate. You can look that up here. That's on ryanbeth.substack.com.
Okay.
Both the reporting site and the view site. This shows an elevated level of financing and technical support. I would.
What do you mean? What are you talking about? Because they know how to do the fucking salute report, and because they have a website with the ICE tracker with the website. What are you talking about? What? Oh God, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, this is signs of George Soros funding, definitely.
Would actually not be surprised if on the back end there's a program running to map locations, because
no, and there is, and it's being taken down by the federal government every day when a new one pops up. So yes, I don't know why you'd be surprised. Of course, you would know. You should know that as somebody that covers the news, and it's been in the media that the federal government has taken down the ICE Watch app and the other ones. There's been multiple apps since last year that people have been used to track ICE activity, and the federal government's taken most of them down. That's a whole free speech battle too, by the way.
What I would do if I were an insurgent. Now you get the locations of where officers are during the day, where they're likely to go next based on previous locations, and where they're sleeping at night. This is what an insurgency does.
First Amendment activities are now insurgency? That's crazy. I bet you if this was Iran, though, he would say, oh, God, this is so good. Or if this was Taiwan, so good. If this was Ukraine, so good. We love that. This is how you should be tracking the Russians. This is how you should be tracking the Chinese, the PLA. Hell yeah. But when it comes to Americans exercising our constitutionally protected rights, though, nope. You know what? I bet you people doing this similar activity, both in Ukraine, both in Iran, both in Palestine, both in Taiwan, that's coming up, because China's probably going to invade Taiwan, try to take Taiwan. They're doing all of this, but like those governments consider that action an insurgency, and like obviously they don't have constitutionally protected rights. Ukraine does, but like Russia doesn't give it. Russia doesn't. They're just invading Ukraine. Like they're taking away Ukrainians' rights. Country to country, and like Russia's trying to own parts of Ukraine because of that, obviously imperialism. But like internally though, like with Iran and other places, that government is treating the protests as an insurgency. To then now hear Ryan Macbeth call your First Amendment rights and what people are doing out there to film ICE and to track where the federal activity is taking place because of the escalation of force that they've shown, because of how they're carrying out the operations in the cities, that's insurgency now. Insane. I stopped watching this video after a minute, and because after he compared it to the NASA insurgency and started putting pictures of Iranian leaders on the screen, comparing it to the Minneapolis protests, I was done listening. But this is like, I had an interview with this guy, I promoted him on my channel, and I need to absolutely go through this whole thing as to why I can't support him ever again, and you shouldn't either. We're just ignorant civilians. We could never ever come up with reporting on ICE presence, and yeah, exactly, or funding. Or George Soros money somehow.
They establish a pattern of life for host nation security forces before escalating action. Let me make it perfectly clear here that Immigrations and Customs Enforcement are not ready for that smoke. I guarantee you they are not sleeping at night in defended compounds or have people pulling security on sleeping officers. All you need is one guy who wants to be Reddit famous to cause a tragedy among the host nation security forces.
What are you talking? This guy is cooked. He's in geopolitical fucking cult world of analysis. What are you saying? That the ICE agents in the corporate Hilton hotels that also get the protection of our local police too aren't ready to then be in fucking tents and pull security? And what are you do? What are we even talking about on all fronts?
The next 2 pages are what I would call a target package. How many agents typically gather on the scene, what they wear.
Yeah, did Ryan Macbeth do a video about the insurrection on January 6th and the funding that went into that and the breakdown of the militia groups that are out there and how they're like the Iranian fucking the state militias or like the extremist groups that have militias in foreign countries that he's against? No, probably not.
There's also a separate page that shows the difference between federal officers and local police.
Wow, identifying how you can identify them. So therefore, you're not like harassing local police with your whistle, and like you can go and whistle at the actual federal agent in the uniform, and you know what they are. Because another factor of this is people don't know who's who because the police is so militarized all around. It's hard to tell these days. Is that local police? Is that a Fed? What Fed is that? Is that the military? People don't know. It's hard. It actually is. Even me, I was served in the military. Sometimes I'm like, that's okay. And you actually have to get in there and read what's on their vest. And sometimes they don't have anything on their vest. It's just like in camouflage out there. They have like police on there, but who knows? Are they state? Are they Fed? Are they what agency? I don't know. Who knows? They got their Darth Vader gas mask on, and then you talk to them and they don't say anything to you, obviously. Or when you hear protesters ask, like, do you have a badge number? Or like, what agency are you with? Nothing. And that's why shit like this exists. They even have the National Guard identified on there because, yes, the National Guard uniform is different than the federal agents. It looks the same sometimes, especially like right here. That looks very similar to this, but they're different, and they have different patches on and everything.
There's also a separate page that shows the difference between federal officers and local police. This particular graphic appears to be for Chicago, so it may not have yet been updated for Minnesota. However, the most interesting thing on this slide is they're lumping the National Guard in with federal officers.
That's not what they're doing.
And I'll tell you, the National Guard are not the bad guys.
I am now an analyst. I'm an intel analyst. I'm gonna become one today. Holy fuck! I'm now an intel analyst. Apparently, that's all it takes. You just deem yourself one, and I got it. I'll do it. I'm talking. I'll just do it. Whatever I gotta do. Give me all of the intel analyst communities, and I'll plug in. What the? Are you actually serious? They did that so you can know the difference. They're not because in Ryan's brain, again, this is an insurgency, and like he's talking about how they're going to be fighting back against people in the federal government, and like that's what he's in his brain. So he's like, they're putting the Guard on there to be targeted. They're not. It's to know when the difference of shit is, like the difference between their uniforms, because like I said, it's hard to tell. And yes, if the National Guard is out patrolling the streets, that should be known. That's like people are worried when that happens. They don't actually, contrary to right-wing Nazi belief, people aren't comfortable when they see military armed looking people out, as you've now learned for the past 2 months, obviously. But like even the National Guard isn't messed with much, but like there's still people who are uncomfortable when they see them out there and they're in the Humvee or whatever. Or like one of my videos went super viral just filming one of the Humvees that was stationed out around the Alex Pretty Memorial. Tim Walz had activated the Guard and had them like in a cordoned off area of South Minneapolis. So that way the next morning the BCA could go in and conduct a proper investigation. But like that still is like uncomfortable for people to see. Like people aren't like, oh yes, militarized police and the military, yes, please. We love that. More of that, please. No, they're not. People on the internet that are right wing say that. And then even right wing people that are like out here and have been affected by these raids are probably like not gonna have such fascist mindset no more, because they've seen like what that can really actually look like. And it's like sounds good maybe in a video game or something to have the fucking oh, we won't have any crime if you just have the fucking military patrol the streets. Nobody wants that actually. And the ones that do don't go outside and they don't have friends or they don't touch grass. They never leave their fucking house.
And local police. This particular graphic appears.
Yeah, and also, thank you, Suzanne. Add the fact in that they're wearing masks and they're masked up. They look like, and it just looks, it looks fucking terrible.
For Chicago, so it may not have yet been updated for Minnesota. However, the most interesting thing on this slide is they're lumping the National Guard in with federal officers. And I'll tell you, the National Guard are not the bad guys. They are neighbors helping neighbors. And this is how National Guardsmen get targeted, as we have seen before. The next slide is a targeting package on vehicles, although this is Chicago. These are pretty standard fleet vehicles with the exception of the Subaru Outback, which might just be on there because it fits the criteria of being all-wheel.
Maybe it's on there because there's been multiple Subaru Outbacks in Minneapolis as part of Operation Metro Surge. What is, I'm literally, you can listen, chat. Do you know what? You can say you're anything and just fucking start a YouTube channel and just start saying shit. Just start, I'm an expert on this, and then just wing it. Fuck it. That's what, I guess that's what you can do now. You can just say, I'm a doctor, and then just go start talking about how your opinions on medical shit, and then people will follow you. The Subaru Outback is not on there because vibes. It's on there because ICE agents are using it. This is insane, dude. How do you have 1 million subs and like you could come? Oh my god, dude.
Which might just be on there because it fits the criteria of being all-wheel drive.
Vibes, right?
Although some of these vehicles may be rentals. So if you're an agent who's told to go out and rent cars, you may be instructed, hey, get something that's all-wheel drive, whether it is a Chevy Suburban or a Subaru Outback.
Or because that's what they're using. And it's been on ground and multiple different colors and shades of Subaru Outbacks have been used for ICE enforcement.
Next, you have instructions on what to do
what
after
next?
the salute report. That is to send the information to the group and call the immigrant rights hotline. Next, we have task organization. Each cell has a recorder, a supporter, and a monitor.
Wow, and even a cool little Powder Puff Girl meme. Wow.
The recorder records the raid.
Wow.
The supporter shouts the know your rights info, and the third person monitors as a safety.
Incredible.
If you are recording, you tend to get tunnel vision. So that support person is there to just kind of keep an eye on the whole scene and look out for you, can maybe kind of pull you away. If
you know about this, did you go there and see how it's done after you read? Are you like guessing based upon the slides you're reading? What do you mean? Are you talking about it as if you know about this process and have been out there documenting feds? Doesn't seem like you would do that anyways. Crazy. Yeah, like I told you, you just say shit. You're an expert because you said you are.
A supporter, and a monitor. The recorder records the raid.
Wow. You can read and then literally relay back what it says in the slideshow.
You can maybe kind of pull you away if things are getting dangerous. So the supporter
good.
kind of
Guys, did you know water, if you touch it, it'll make it's wet. Did you know that?
An interesting job. The Know Your Rights card is this information card, and you can order these online. They're often called
Who funded that?
Cards. You can get them in multiple languages.
Knowing your rights. Someone funded that? Where'd that money come from?
I have a copy of the red card at ryanbeth.substack.com. They basically say don't open the door, don't answer questions, and don't sign anything, and give the card to the agent. The next
and he encourages you to work with the agent. Thank you for the 5 gifted, Jana. Thank you.
Part is literally what we would call command and signal.
Wow.
If Immigration and Customs Enforcement is nearby, you blow into a whistle with 3 quick breaths. Tweet, tweet, tweet. If ICE is detaining somebody, you blow 3 long breaths. Tweet, tweet, tweet. And the instructions here are to form a crowd and stay loud. Form a crowd and stay loud. The interesting thing is that whistles allow people to follow the sound to ICE convoys. This creates a very large crowd. The other interesting and frankly scary thing is this. If officers are issuing commands to the crowd, it may not be audible over the sound of the whistles.
Now I understand how he was able to be a Israel cuck. Are you actually joking? And then he listen to the I think he's gonna have the audio playing. Absolutely peaked the fuck out. Maximum gain.
Audible over the sound of the whistles. The next page is interesting because it tells you what you should and should not bring. One of those
They can't give commands because the whistles are too loud.
things is do not bring weapons. I also find it interesting they say do not bring drugs or alcohol, but that's sensible because if you get arrested for whatever reason, it could be an additional charge. The next slide mentions that documenting immigration,
or because they want you focused, and you're like, whatever, for sure, definitely.
And customs enforcement.
Because even at the what's looking like the next Standing Rock, looking like maybe we'll see. There's like a encampment starting. They have strict rules against that too. I think Standing Rock did as well, against no alcohol, no drugs at it, because they want people that are there for the to be focused. Not saying that if you have a drink, or obviously I'm 420 friendly, but it's substances, mind altering, and they want you sober at these things, so that way you're not in harm's way, and you might get others in harm's way. But yeah, also maybe to look after yourself too, so you don't catch another charge. But this entire video is like as if he's unearthed an insurgent program and he's revealing it to what he thinks is his right-wing audience. That I don't know if he really has one. On YouTube, he doesn't.
Activity is legal and protected, which it is. But a few pages down, we get how to turn off the biometric unlocking on your phone. Face ID is a great thing, very convenient, but there is a non-zero chance that a federal officer could take your phone, unlock it, and delete something. Wouldn't be legal, but that's a later problem that's going to be resolved 5 years down the road after you've spent thousands of dollars in court costs. Another slide talks about documenting from your vehicle, and the instructions here are if you were approached by agents to do the following. Lock your doors and roll the windows up. Once you're safely parked, put your hands up and away from the steering wheel or gear shifter and say loudly and clearly, I am on a public road. I have a legal right to use this public road. I am not preventing you from using this public road. I am not impeding your movements on this public road.
Explain how this is insurgency.
The interesting thing here is this sounds really close to what sovereign citizens like to say.
The reason I'm stopping is you got no plate on your truck here.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
Why not?
I'm traveling.
You're traveling?
For my foreign viewers, sovereign citizens are like these anti-government extremists who believe they don't need to register vehicles. They believe in some other stuff too, but...
Does he have any comparisons that aren't to extremists? So he's comparing it to whatever, dude.
You often hear them at traffic stops saying, I am not driving, I am traveling. Now, one thing to remember is that the police, like municipal police, highway patrol, they know how to deal with sovereign citizens. But immigrations and customs enforcement, they're not police. They're entering urban policing situations that they might not necessarily have been trained for, and that's going to result in suboptimal outcomes. And the advice to roll up your windows and say the magic words, I am not on a public road, this is the kind of advice that can get someone killed. And this has kind of been the problem with protesters and immigrations and customs enforcement interactions. If you have an officer approaching your vehicle, odds are he's going to start giving commands.
This is not in what you're showing someone nodding out. What the fuck? This is insane. I can't. You better if you follow this guy, you can't follow me no more. You got to choose. You got to choose him or me. This is insane. This is insane.
Blowing. You got your passenger chanting, I am on a public road. And now is the point where this isn't a game.
So somebody nodding out in a video and law enforcement is comparison to the federal agents yanking people out of their cars for doing nothing but exercising their rights and following the instructions that you're showing. And you're like, yeah, even though these are instructions that are telling you your rights, this still will get people killed. Absolute loser take. And also the propaganda he's using to go along with this is insane.
Now is the point where this isn't a game anymore. Most people have never committed or even seen an act of violence except on TV. Most people have never been arrested or detained either. This makes the feeling or the knowledge that you're about to get arrested and your whole life is going to change, this makes being the subject of violence very, very unfamiliar. And that's when people start to panic. And when you panic, you do irrational things, because in that moment, fight or flight kicks in. And that's when
that's why you should just stay home and don't do anything. If you disagree with the government, make Facebook posts. Yeah, so it's your fault if the agent that's untrained and shit tries to shoot you because you shouldn't have even been there. Just say that, Ryan. This is way too long to get to. You shouldn't even be out there. Don't protest the government. Only if you're in Iran. You can protest the government. You can protest the Iranian government. You can protest the Chinese government. You can protest the Russians. Protest Israel. You better not protest the USA either, or you're a communist insurgent.
You might start resisting even if you don't think you're resisting. While doing research for this video, I read a lot about nonviolent movements during the 1960s, like the Freedom Riders who protested racial segregation in the American South. You can actually...
Yeah. Fine. There is modern day examples of resistance. Hello, the Maidan, Euromaidan, we cover Ukraine, right? You talk about Ukraine. You've covered the Taiwan protests. You've covered the Georgia protests against the Russian takeover of Georgia. What are you talking? What is happening? Chat, you can do whatever you want. Do whatever the fuck you want. Say whatever you want. You're an expert in whatever you want in 2026. You can just whatever. You had to research civil rights era protests to understand 2026 protests. What are you doing? And then also you can also get that on his Substack, I guess.
RyanMcBeth.substack.com.
Yep. You can get all these open source things that exist on his Substack.
They are fascinating piece of history. I never even knew these training manuals existed. In fact, one of them talks about the nonviolent response to personal violence, where they say, make no abrupt gestures, move slowly. When practical, tell your opponent what you are going to do before you do it. Don't say anything threatening, critical, or hostile. That is from the Handbook for Nonviolent Action.
Yeah, and then the protester said, here comes the dildo. Yeah. We're going to throw dildos at you today. That's what they said out there. They were following the Handbook for Nonviolent Action,
which you can find at RyanMcBeth.substack.
And you can find it at Ryan McBeth on his Substack.com.
So basically, during the 1960s and the fight against segregation, people expected to be the victims of violence, and they expected to be arrested. Today, people don't really expect that.
What are you? People are like, literally go like when they're like, "This is an unlawful assembly. Leave the area." People are like, "Nope, actually, we're gonna stay here." And if we get arrested, I guess. To see what are you watching? Most people, yes, they will leave and not be arrested, but there is always a handful that will stay and accept their fate because they're there to protest the government, and that's their way of like really resisting. Obviously, in terms of like. Not like just leaving when they say they're not like most people aren't like resisting arrest. They're just like stand there, like they're told to sit, and then they're detained, and then sometimes they're let go and they're given a fine or something. What are we even talking? What is even happening at this point? So it's an insurgency. It's a whole bunch of bullshit. They don't use outbacks, but they are like this guy. He did no research into this video at all about the actual Operation Metro Surge. This video is about the Minneapolis protests, but he's talking about a whole bunch of other unrelated shit. Not even anything to do with the mini. He's not even highlighting other protests and like what those are like. And this, I don't know, there's still 2 minutes left in this video. 3 minutes.
So odds are the person being approached is scared because now this just got really real. And meanwhile, they can't hear the commands of the officer because there's whistles. And
oh my, fuck off. Absolutely fuck off.
Chanting going on.
The chanting? What chants? What chants? When it's the ICE agents out there, it's just whistles. It's the whistles and the car horns.
The recipe for freaking
disaster. And the reason why there's no ICE agents giving commands and whatever is because they're just sitting in their car or they're just driving around looking for black and brown people. They're not like at an active enforcement situation, which at the ones they have been, they put out police tape and then people stand on the other side of the fucking police tape. And then they sit there and they'll protest them. But in the situations where we've been at an active raid or a standoff, ICE and the federal government's been able to carry out whatever the fuck they wanted while in the face of being whistled at and honk and horns or people swearing at them or whatever. And they've been able to do their shit. The times that they've been pushed out of like a neighborhood is when they're doing door-to-door shit, or they're just looking to grab people that are black and brown, and like people in the neighborhood are whistling so they can't randomly grab people in that moment. But guess what? Then they'll leave for a second, and then when the crowd dissipates and they leave or whatever, then they'll go back to that neighborhood and try to find more black and brown people to grab. This is nuts. I told him never talk about Minneapolis again. They said this better be your last video ever talking about Minneapolis.
The officer, because there's whistles and chanting going on.
You're insane.
This is a recipe for freaking disaster.
No, you're a recipe for disaster.
That's how someone gets their windows broken and pulled out of the car.
Wow, yeah, exactly. It's your fault. Exactly. Yep. So you exercising your rights is gonna just make it so you get brutalized, and it will be nobody's fault but yours. Is basically what he's saying. It's what he's like suggesting here in this video, which is the right-wing mindset on this.
Care first. And again, they might be in the right 5 years from now, but I'm worried about right now. Then there are some de-escalation steps, which are act, remain calm, maintain distance, and walk away when necessary. Communicate, think about your language, tone, and volume. Set clear boundaries. Monitor. Observe what's going on around you. Respect personal space. It also suggests to stay 10 feet away from immigrations and customs enforcement with no aggressive verbal or physical behavior, and says that...
So everything you're reading is directly going against your own dog shit analysis. Your own uninformed dog poop analysis. Everything you are reading from this document is going against that.
Watch is not a tactic for interfering with ICE activity. Now, whether or not the agent thinks you're interfering, again, that's something they could perceive, but this document suggests not to intervene, stay 10 feet away.
So then what are you saying? What are you saying then? He's double speak Ryan here. Talking out of both sides of his mouth here. Oh, they're both the document that I'm basing this entire video off of is literally saying keep distance from the agents, don't agitate them, don't impede them. You have your First Amendment right to observe and to whistle and to do that, but do not like put them in harm's way, and don't put yourself in harm's way. Basically, exactly what this fucking sign. Literally, stay safe out there with the cat meme. And Ryan's like, well, yeah, I'm going to ignore that and like be like, yeah, ICE agents will ignore it. We know they will. Everyone knows ICE agents are just going to do whatever the fuck they want. That's the point. That's why people are protesting them. That's why people are engaging in First Amendment rights of like filming them and whistling or whatever, because these ICE agents are acting like that already. They've been already doing that.
It's not a tactic for interfering with ICE activity. Now, whether or not the agent thinks you're interfering, again, that's something they could perceive, but this document suggests not to intervene, stay 10 feet away. The final pages are all additional resources. So let me be very clear about what I am and I am not saying here. This does not mean that Minneapolis is about to erupt into an insurgency. This does not mean that...
You've already compared it to an insurgency and then also an extreme group that extremely uses the First Amendment against the police. What was that? The one part with that dude in his truck where they like they just know their rights and they do it and they're just like, I don't know, like not weak about it. They're like, I don't have to show you shit. Like they have their card that they put up to the window or whatever. Like those videos are funny. I watch those videos. But you've already and you called those people extremists too. So that's how he feels about First Amendment auditors and anyone that doesn't just necessarily give the police your ID because you have rights and you don't have to. Some people are just like, whatever, whatever I got to do to get through this traffic stop. But others are like, not so fast. I know my rights. You're an extremist. And then also he's already called the Minneapolis protest an insurgency, but now he's got to dress it up at the end of the video.
Protesters are terrorists. And this does not mean that Immigration and Customs Enforcement is acting illegally by default. But what it does mean is that when you start seeing organization, tasking, communications discipline, reporting structures,
you can't do that. Civilians cannot do that, or it's bad. Why is it bad? Because China did it, or I don't know. It's just you can't don't resist the government, and then no, we don't have to talk about all this yucky stuff. That's what right wingers really want. You can't resist. You can't protest. And if you do, you got to do it in the way I think, which is like you got to stay on a sidewalk away from everyone so nobody can hear you. And it's got to be on like a Saturday when no one's working, because otherwise you're impeding with people that are working. And then it's got to have all these other conditions too. And it can't be for this issue or that issue or this issue or that issue. And like only then you can protest. But even then they probably won't be for it. They'd find a way to be against it.
You are no longer looking at spontaneous protest behavior. You are looking at people who are engaged in what they believe is an existential conflict, not a political disagreement, and that matters.
Yeah, and that matters. So no longer is it just people going out because you're upset with ICE. It's targeted and coordinated and funded. Yep.
Because when one side views something as law enforcement action, the other side views it as an existential fight for survival, you've crossed into the danger zone where miscalculation gets people hurt. History has shown us over and over again that when governments lean harder into force without addressing legitimacy concerns, they don't suppress unrest, they make more of it. They train it, right? You take out one insurgent, 3 more appear.
You keep calling them insurgents, even.
If you want to support the channel or read
my
the documents,
Substack,
head on over to ryanbeth.substack.com. It's free, but I could use the $5.
Of course you could. Give him for $5 to do analysis that he didn't. Again, he could have came to Minnesota, could have came here at any point, like so many influencers have. So many YouTubers, influencers have all came now for the past 2 months. Not once did he come here. And then he gives a whole analysis on the protest, which the reason why we went into this video is because that's what Keith Ellison was getting grilled on. And this guy's also a big YouTuber. Dog shit. But he's getting cooked in his comments, right? Ryan, make a video about January 6th organization and development if you call balls and strikes. Aren't most protests organized? Otherwise, it would just be a mob with no clear goals. Yes. Sometimes, though. Sometimes, like, they can work. Unorganized protests can work. We've seen it a lot over the past 2 months because some of them have not been organized. Or, like, people are told to go somewhere and gather there, but then there's no leader. And then vibes, and then a march starts, and people chant and stuff, I guess. But, like, a lot of them have been organized, right? And it depends if there's, like, an activist group that's knowledgeable in how to carry that out and have protests and make sure there's marshals there. You know, the speech, obviously you got to have your speeches and people making a speech about why they're there and why it's important to support this issue and that and whatever. Has a lot to do with connectivity and social media. Paul Revere would not have to go on a ride yelling the British are coming. He'd go live on Instagram. Yo, they're coming. Hearing now that the Boston Tea Party may have been planned ahead of time. Big if true. Who funded the Boston Tea Party? They're insurgents. Why are they using secure communications? Which again, the signal itself is encrypted and it's like a secure platform to use. But the group, they're unvetted though. Like they're openly like, we are aware that people are, you know, they could be agitators or that have bad, that they support ICE or whatever, or journalists that can be annoying. They're in this too. They're watching what you're saying. They're watching what's in this. It's a unsecure comms in there. But Signal itself though, and like other apps have encrypted options though. You're telling me they plan protests? I cannot remember one social movement that did not involve some planning. He's getting cooked in his comments, and these are like, growing and organizing is exactly what organic means. Make a video about how elected officials and law enforcement leaders are actively lying about events and refusing to answer basic questions. Of course you can't. So yeah, I wanted to nitpick that video anyways, and now that was a good opportunity to, because I made it through the first minute. As soon as he got to this part at 1:44, I sent an email to him and told him to never talk about Minneapolis again. I already knew how bad this video was going to be at 1:37 when I saw this image, and the connotation is Minneapolis is a Shia militia insurgency now. Go fuck yourself. Absolutely not. Absolutely get the fuck out of here in all ways. But yeah, so Keith Ellison, good job though, to kind of zoom back out to the point of why I even went into that video. Because also, again, like I've interacted with Ryan. I've had him on my platform. He's been knowledgeable about Syria and what happened there, but absolute garbage on the situation here in Minneapolis, and he should never speak on it again. I have taken his First Amendment right now to speak about Minneapolis. Don't ever put that city in your mouth again. Insane. All right. The U.S. Senate voted 52-47 to reject a bill to fund the DHS. A partial shutdown could begin by the end of the week. Nice. Good. The government should have stayed shut down. The Democrats are weak. They're weak. All right, chat. I think I've had enough. That's enough news for today. Good stuff. But yeah, so this is the new news stream, or not new. If you're new to the channel, though, like a lot of you are, or if you're new to the Twitch or whatever, at noon, we'll have a daily news segment going through the latest of what's happening between, well, now we can start looking at Epstein file stuff and getting knowledgeable there, but also obviously the latest with the enforcement operations. As time goes on, we'll see if how this slows down, what the scale and scope of the operation changes to, and all that stuff. I'll get back out and covering protests again. That will happen whenever it happens. But yeah, daily news streams at noon. I have a gaming channel, and we'll go live later, and I'll be more regular on my gaming channel too, and not just like randomly. But like, I'm thinking like either 7 o'clock. Yeah, like 7 o'clock Central. You guys can come on over to my gaming channel. I might stream to Twitch as well. I don't know. I don't get many. I get like 3 viewers on Twitch for gaming. And it destroys my algorithm. But people are asking me to stream gaming on Twitch too. But you guys got to show up. You got to be there. Otherwise, I'm not going to do it. Because otherwise, I'd rather have full focus on the YouTube channel. It's up to you guys, though. If you like gaming, if not. But I'm probably going to play a story game tonight. I've been playing The Division, just getting back into gaming. But I'm thinking of playing a story game. We got protests on Friday and Saturday. And also just probably go to the Whipple building. Because there'll probably be like one last, probably protest surge around ICE. But then you got the No Kings protest is coming up in March. And you're going to probably, as it gets warmer, you're going to have those national one-day protests that happen once a month. And then I'm sure there will still be like justice for Renee Good and Alex Pretty protests. So I can see those happening. The encampment that's starting too. I don't know if I can stream at that, but I'll get over there and talk to the organizers of what's going on there. But that's like what's coming. Okay, you got a few, probably depending on how this goes, maybe another weekend of ICE related protests specifically. And that doesn't mean there was like in the No Kings protest, the third one that's coming up in March, you will likely still see ICE out signs, and there will still be people protesting ICE. Like that's not going to stop. But like the core focus of the protest will probably go back to like the Trump administration, the whole thing, all of it, which is what the massive the No Kings protest from last year, the 1 and 2 and the Elon one, like they're just massive, and they've been massive. So that's coming up in March. And then, yeah, we'll track and see if and where this enforcement operation goes. I think the surge thing is politically not good. So I don't think there will be a new surge in like another city. I think it's just going to be immigration enforcement happening, and there will still be videos of people seeing federal agents here and there around the country. But this tactic of like surging thousands of agents into a city is like so politically damning for them. I don't know if they can do it again. I don't know if they can take this to another city, at least right now, maybe there will be a political will where it comes back and they do it again. But as of right now, they're so cooked. MAGA is so cooked politically to where they can't. I don't think they can carry out another surge in another city like they have here in Minnesota, in Broadview, in Charlotte, in Louisiana, in LA, all over the country. Last year, leading up to Operation Metro Surge, I just don't see how they can do this again. But again, Trump will do what Trump does. MAGA will do what they want. They still got a plan to try to take the reins of the government completely and completely make it a one MAGA party that controls the whole government. That's what Project 2025 is. So we got to see. Hopefully the midterms will kick in. Hopefully the courts. It's all hopium. It's nothing concrete here that I can tell you this is for sure going to happen. I don't know. I thought Trump was going to lose in 2024. I really did. He ended up winning. So who knows when it comes to voting and if we even can, if Trump permits it. We'll see. Because the whole point of Project 2025 is to literally make the whole government MAGA and MAGA only, and like democracy gone, dictatorship in. That's the whole point, and that's why I was like, "Yo, we can Trump bad." No one wanted to hear it in 2024 though, except for obviously people that were already convinced. But people were tired. They weren't watching the Trump rallies and the crowd falling asleep at him in 2024 while he's just ranting about trans people and immigrants for hours and hours. And then while we're reading Project 2025 and how bad it actually will be. And now here we've been living it, and it sucks actually. So hopefully it's been so bad to where elections will go a different way, and even Republicans will push back against the fascism of MAGA because it's so bad. It's so bad. I don't have high hopes though, because it didn't matter in 2024. I don't know why it would matter now. Right. But I mean, how worse do you want it to get, I guess? Or how worse do people want it to get out here? Because it sucks. So hopium, that's what I got for you. But we'll keep you guys updated, of course, with everything that goes on. You guys aren't going to be left in the dust. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow on Facebook. Follow on Twitch. Shout out to everybody that watched on the Twitch. Thank you for the new follows. Wild Mannered, Sky Thrill, Amber Owens, Destiny Llama 3, Blueberry Daytime. Thank you, Cow Ticket, Zen to You, Dust 022. Thank you, a Mollusk with No Shell for subscribing for a month. Thank you, Tiki Room Bunnies, for a shout out. It gave me a shout out earlier. And everybody else that might be new on the Twitch, right? So make sure you guys come on over to Mercado Gaming. I'll get it scheduled for later. I'm gonna go out and say goodbye to John and John Farina from Status Quo. He's going to be leaving, so I'm going to see if we have time to go and have a early dinner, and then send him off because that's it. It's time to go home. We'll see if well, obviously locally here we got to see if the operation is actually ended, as Tim Walz said in the thing too. All right, guys, have a good night. See you on the next one. Peace.